The typology of Mars. Important note to the reader. This paper is not a narrative or theme, the main focus is patterns. All texts provided in this paper will link each other by patterns, whether by name, events or the written texts. Nothing is coincidental. The reader must take care in reading this paper and take everything into consideration. This paper contains over 100 coincidences, and I wrote the paper in chronicle order of time and events. To ensure I am not challenged, nor dismiss this paper as speculation and faction and fabrications, I have strictly used texts of the most respected authors, of the highest authority, in their respected fields, and their expertise. I have only used the approved, official and published books, to formulate this complex paper, while I have, and with logic, and not challenging any mainstream academics, have note, my own theories, which does not affect the typology of this paper. I am sure many will disagree. However, to disagree with the texts provided is to disagree with the highly respected and experts of their fields. In short, as a typologist, I don't need to defend the sources, nor a need to explain changes of texts by authors of biblical texts, nor do I need to justify my use of the Ferrafenton Bible, nor a need to explaining what is or is not metaphor, or what is fact. As a typologist, I simply copy texts, exactly as it was written. The texts themselves will tell the answer, without the modern bias, or modern false doctrines, nor do I need to prove all of my theories. Preface, Ferrafenton Bible 1913, 5th edition. The translator believes he can claim for his version of the scriptures, both of the Old and New Testaments, that it is the only one ever made into our language, absolutely direct from the original Hebrew and Greek of the sacred writers, without any intermediate translation, whether ancient or modern, intervening between the English and the original languages used by the biblical writers. To attain this end, for nearly 40 years he never read the New Testament except in the Greek, and for several years the Old in the Hebrew and Chaldean, so as to arrive at their meaning from the ancient writers themselves alone. He also has had before him no theological or historic theories to assail or support his one aim having been to show the import of the scriptures, for the following reasons. In early manhood, about 1852, he became convinced, after a study of the then called German school of biblical criticism, but now the higher critics, that unless the sacred scriptures were translated afresh into current spoken English, a belief in the Christian religion as a faith would perish, for that by the unavoidable ignorance of the old translators, and the obsolete dialect of the A.V., and subsequently the revised version, its documentary basis had become unintelligible to us. Note, to attain this end, for nearly 40 years, he never read the New Testament, except in the Greek, and for several years the Old in the Hebrew and Chaldean. This means he has never read our modern, or Latin Bibles, only the original Greek, for 40 years, because people don't understand that the New Testament is actually written the Greek languages. This gives an original translation and the only copy complete in the world to date. In 1883 the Pauline epistles were issued, and met with the direct approval of the late Professor Blackie, of Edinburgh, and the healthiest appreciation of the general public, Christians, literary and illiterate, British and foreign, alike. This portion of the work, however, together with the other books comprised in the New Testament, has been translated afresh from the excellent Greek text of Drs. Westcott and Hort. To these eminent scholars the translator desires to express his indebtedness also to the late Bishops Wordsworth and Bloomfield, Professor Alford, and others, and for invaluable assistance received from many friends, both clerical and lay, in the revision of the work. The heartiest thanks are hereby tendered. Special mention must be made of the critical examination made by an accomplished Finnish gentleman, who has compared the whole with the original texts of Professor Tissendorf, and others, besides personally assisting in the English composition. The present issue thus constitutes a fresh translation entirely founded upon Drs. Westcott and Hort's critically accurate Greek text, and with all weak or faulty renderings corrected. To it the translator has added critical notes to passages seeming to require them, and he hopes they may be of use to his readers. During its progress this work has been approved by Dr. Date, Archbishop of Canterbury, Dr. Benson, Archbishop of Canterbury, Professor J.S. Blackie, of Edinburgh University, Professor Oliver Wendell Holmes, of Boston, USA, Professor C. A. L. Totten, of Yale University, USA, the Very Reverend D. Plumptre, D.D., Dean of Wells, the Reverend H.S. Champneys, Rector of Epperstone, the Reverend J. Bowen, B.D., Rector of St. Lawrence, Pembroke Keshub Chunder Sen, Calcutta, India, the Reverend H. Stretton, Vicar of Eastville, Limes, the Reverend Charles Garrett, ex-president of the Wesleyan Conference, the Reverend J. Davis, D.D., Ontario, Canada, and numerous others, who urged the translator to complete his work by a version of the whole Bible, on the same plan, which he has now accomplished, by the help of God. Ferrer Fenton, London, 1905. Note: Archbishop of Canterbury is the highest authority of the Church of England, thus Ferrer Fenton's Bibles is both valid and worthy of use in my studies. Reference: Ferrer Fenton Bible 1913, the Book of Isaiah 40:12. Whose palm has measured the sea and scattered the suns by a rule? Note: 2 sons. Reference: Ferrer Fenton Bible 1913, the Book of Isaiah 40:22. He sits, with her dwellers spread on her like flies, who scattered like pebbles the suns. Note: 2 sons. Reference: Ferrer Fenton Bible 1913, the Book of Isaiah 40:22. Thus says the Lord, who created the suns, the God who formed earth and provided its laws. Note: who created the suns, 2 sons. Reference: Ferrer Fenton Bible 1913, the Book of Isaiah 59:18. Then from the west they shall see the Lord's power, from the sunrise, his glory, when he comes like a torrent, which fierce wind from the Lord drives along. Note: a sun cannot rise in the west, the sun, our sun, rises from the east. Reference: Ferrer Fenton Bible 1913, the Book of Isaiah 38:8. He has promised, I will return the advancing shadow, on the dial, which has passed down on the sundial of Ahaz, from the sun, 10 degrees backwards, so that 10 degrees, of the dial, shall return on the sundial, which they had gone down. Reference: Ferrer Fenton Bible 1913, the Book of Ezekiel 8:17. Between the porch and the altar, about 25 persons with their back towards the temple of the ever-living, and their faces towards the east, and they were worshipping the eastern sun. References: 1. The Mullapin, Sumerian cuneiform texts, complete star record, and astronomical observances. 2. Weld Blundell's Prism, often called the Sumerian King List, by Professor S. Langdon of Astrology 1923. 3. The Chaldean Account of Genesis by Dr. George Smith of Assyriology. Mesopotamian Creation and Flood Stories, from Akkadian Tablets 1876. The Hallelujah Scriptures, Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, the Book of Hanoch, Enoch, the Book of Joshua, the Books of Adam and Eve. 4. The Epic of Era Sumerian Texts. 5. 33rd Degree Albert Pike Magnum Opus 1857. 6. Victory Stele of Naram-Sin. In the Victory Stele of Naram-Sin, the 2 sons symbol is a complete mystery, often told as metaphor, but I can prove otherwise. There is much evidence in written texts These texts describe the creation of the solar system, including the establishment of the sun, moon, and planets. The sun often symbolizes divine presence, the center and the ordering principle that separates day from night, light from darkness, and the seasons. The Chaldean account of Genesis, Fenton-Ferrer Bible, in both the Mesopotamian and biblical creation narratives, share the same narratives and mythology, only told in different ways, and the repeating effects over ages of time. The orientation and creation of everything from the start. Note Fenton-Ferrer Bible 1913. Literally by headships. It is curious that all translators from the Septuagint have rendered this word brusheth into the singular, although it is plural in the Hebrew. So I render it accurately, Fenton-Ferrer, to mean there are many gods, not one. Reference, Ferrer-Fenton Bible 1913, the Book of Genesis 1. By periods, God created that which produced the solar systems, then, that which produced the earth, but the earth was unorganized and empty, and darkness covered its convulsed surface, while the breath of God rocked the surface of its waters. God then said, "Let there be light," and light came. And God gazed upon that beautiful light, and God divided the light from the darkness. And to the light God gave the name of day, and to the darkness, he gave the name of night. This was the close and the dawn of the first age. Aries. Element, fire. Ruling planet, Mars. Color red, photosynthesis. Red light is highly absorbed by chlorophyll pigments, making it a very efficient energy source for photosynthesis. Flowering and fruiting. Red light wavelengths are key for triggering and enhancing budding and flowering. Note God has not yet made the sun or moon. This would mean that God, knew Saturn is not star, or was a star. God said, "Let there be light," and light came. Mars. Reference, Ferrer-Fenton Bible 1913, the Book of Genesis 1:6. God also said, "Let there be an expanse between the waters, and let it be a division between the waters and the waters." And God made the expanse, and it divided the waters which were below the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse, and that was done. And God named the expanse the heavens. This was the close and the dawn of the second age, Taurus. Bull of heaven, element, earth. Ruling planet Venus, color, green. Plant development, it influences plant architecture, can stimulate shoot elongation, and plays a role in the production of secondary metabolites like flavonoids. Plant reflection, plants reflect and transmit more green light than other colors, which is why they appear green to us. Note the expanse and division would be the atmosphere or the ozone layer, which divides the waters above from the waters below. Waters can mean the electromagnetics and cosmic waves in space, and the waters below would mean the ozone layer, the many earthly noble gases, are air, oxygen, H2O, water, to the waters. Reference, Ferrer-Fenton Bible 1913, the Book of Genesis 1:9. God then commanded, "Let the waters below the heavens be collected in one place, and let dry land appear to," and that was done. And God named the dry land earth, and the accumulated waters he named seas, and God admired their beauty. Note, the waters to collect in one place would mean the ice caps, or only one ice cap, namely the North Pole. Reference, Ferrer-Fenton Bible 1913, the Book of Genesis 1:11. God then said, "Let the earth produce seed-bearing vegetation, as well as fruit trees according to their several species, capable of reproduction upon the earth," and that was done. The earth produced the seed-bearing herbage according to every species, as well as the different species of reproductive fruit trees, and God saw that they were good. This was the close and the dawn of the third age. Gemini. Element, air. Color, purple. Ruling planet, Mercury. Note, enhances plant development, blue light encourages strong roots and leaf growth, while red light promotes flowering and bud development. Violet or purple light has a short wavelength and higher energy. Reference: Ferrophenton Bible 1913, the Book of Genesis 1:14. God further said, "Let reflectors appear in the expanse of the heavens for a division between the day and the night, and let them serve to mark seasons, periods, and years, and let them also illuminate the expanse of the skies, so as to reflect their light upon the earth." And that was done. Aquarius. Ruling planet is Saturn. Element: Earth. Color: black, primarily ultraviolet, UV, and some violet light, which plants cannot use for photosynthesis and will cause them to become etiolated. However, it is also why this event takes place outside of Earth, in the darkness of space, the formation of the solar system. Reference: Ferrophenton Bible 1913, the Book of Genesis. 1:16. God had made two large luminaries, the larger one to control the day, and the smaller one to control the night, accompanied by the stars. And God had fixed them in the heavenly expanse so as to illuminate the earth, to control the day and to control the night, and to mark the division between the light and the darkness. And God saw they were beautiful. This was the close and the dawn of the fourth age, Cancer. Element: watercolor, white ruler, moon. Primary colors: spectrum and UV, and, again, the event happens in space, the solar system. The texts: order of planets. The colors match the texts. The moon is richer, it has the color spectrum, but also it appears poor. The deceiver: this matches the Middle East, who worship the moon, though richer, but appear poor. The moon is associated with sin, her original name and still is sin. Reference: Ferrophenton Bible 1913, the Book of Genesis 1:20. God then said, "Let the waters be swarming with animal life, and let birds fly in the expanse of the skies above the earth." God accordingly produced the monsters of the deep, and the waters swarmed with every species of reptile, and also produced every species of flying bird. And God admired their beauty. And God, in giving them his blessing, said, "Be fruitful and multiply, so as to fill the waters of the deep, and also let the birds multiply upon the earth." This was the close and the dawn of the fifth age, Pisces. Element: water. Ruling planet: Jupiter. Color: blue. Blue light, gas exchange, it encourages photosynthesis, and opening of stomata, the small pores on leaves, allowing for efficient CO2 intake, and helping to regulate water loss, and producing clean oxygen. It is absorbed by chlorophyll, which is vital for photosynthesis, the process of converting light energy into chemical energy. Sturdy structure: blue light promotes the development of strong, healthy stems and leaves. Reference: Ferrophenton Bible 1913, the Book of Genesis 1:24. God then said, "Let the earth produce animal life according to its species, in quadrupeds, reptiles and all wild animals, answering to their species." And that was done. God accordingly made the various species of the animals of the earth, as well as the several species of quadrupeds, and all the different species of reptiles, and God admired their beauty. Reference: Ferrophenton Bible 1913, the Book of Genesis 1:26-28. God then said, "Let us make men under our shadow, as our representatives, and subject to them the fish of the waters and the birds of the sky, and the quadrupeds, as well as the whole of the earth, and every reptile that creeps upon it." So God created men under his own shadow, creating them in their shadow of God, and constituting them male and female. God then gave them his blessing, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply so as to fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and the birds of the skies, and over every living animal that moves upon the earth." Note, let us make men under our shadow, as our representatives, which tells you there are indeed many gods, of which all played a part of the creation of the earth. And the gods made men, and not man. Reference, Ferrofenton Bible 1913, the Book of Genesis 2. Thus the whole host of the heavens as well as the earth were completed. And God rested at the seventh age, from all the works which he had made. Therefore God blessed the seventh day, and hallowed it, because he then rested from all the work which God had arranged to do. 1. Let the earth produce. 2. Let the waters be swarming. 3. Let the waters be swarming with animal life, and also produced every species of flying bird. 4. Let reflectors appear in the expanse. 5. Let the earth produce seed-bearing vegetation. 6. Let there be an expanse between the waters. 6. Let there be light. Note, let the earth is to deny the sun. The sun is never regarded a god. The sun is Satan's Swiss Army knife of cosmic matter, and a power source. The sun recharges the planets. Without the sun, nothing is possible. Thus the gods hide the sun's power as their own power. Note, think of the sun, placed on a ley line, but in space, electromagnetic plasma filaments from the galaxy itself, the sun, plugged in the galaxy power grid, more a machine. Marduk asks the sun god to clean his garments and polish his face. Marduk also speaks in a manner of the sun, as a tool. Once you grasp this understanding, everything becomes clear. What did Saturn, God, actually make? Saturn cannot create life, or souls himself. 1. God created that which produced the solar systems. 2. God had made two large luminaries. 3. God had fixed them in the heavenly expanse. 5. Heavenly expanse, appear in the expanse between the waters equals solar system only, never the galaxy, or beyond the fixed stars. 6. Saturn has no real power to create life, animals, humans. God needs the other lights, or the other gods. Satan is part of them all, thus the constant duality, or personality disorders, the jealous saver. Reference, Ferrofenton Bible 1913, the Book of Revelation. To the messenger to the assembly in Laodicea write, thus says the veritable, the faithful and true witness, the beginner of God's creation. I know your position, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish that you were either cold or hot. So because you are lukewarm, and neither hot nor cold, I will vomit you out of my mouth. Because you say, I am rich, having become wealthy, and have need of nothing, and do not know that you are wretched, pitiable, poor, blind, and naked. I advise you to purchase from me gold refined by fire, in order that you may become rich, and white clothing, so that you may clothe yourself, and prevent the shame of your nakedness being visible, and ointment to apply to your eyes, in order that you may see. I examine and instruct as many as I love. Therefore be in earnest, and change your mind. Attend. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone should hear my voice, and will open the door, I will come in and dine with him, and he with me. The conqueror, to him I will give the privilege of sitting with myself on my throne, as I also conquered, and sat with my Father upon his throne. Note, this is Jupiter talking to his father Saturn. 1. To him I will give the privilege of sitting with myself. 2. As I also conquered, and sat with my Father upon his throne. The Savior of mankind is very self-egocentric and narcissistic, because it's only showing confidence in knowing Saturn will reset time, a new cycle, new religion, new language, new name, new cycle, new gods, when Saturn sends man back to the Dark Ages, or the cave. 3. I advise you to purchase from me gold refined by fire, in order that you may become rich, and white clothing. 4. Prevent the shame of your nakedness being visible. 5. Examine and instruct as many as I love. 6. and change your mind. Attend. Saturn is to become a sun in the new age of Aquarius, cup of forgetfulness. Note: 1. Host of the heavens as well as the earth were completed. 2. He then rested from all the work, not retire. Notes: the creation of light occurs before the creation of the sun and moon, implying God, Anu/Saturn, is not the initial light source or a star. It is Mars, the first red light, replaced with Venus green light, and then Mercury, purple light, or purple dawn. Later replaced with Jupiter, blue, during the dinosaur period. The expanse dividing waters is understood as the atmosphere or ozone layer, separating cosmic or electromagnetic waters above from terrestrial gases below. The waters collected in one place may symbolize ice caps, possibly the North Pole, rather than seas as conventionally interpreted. God commands the earth to produce seed-bearing vegetation and fruit trees. The text emphasizes that the earth produces the plants, not that God directly creates every plant or ecosystem, which fits with the God Marduk, asking the sun to finish the work of creation. The division of day and night, and the marking of seasons, periods, and years, aligns with ancient astronomical knowledge of constellations and zodiac cycles. Fossil evidence such as shock quartz and tektites in ancient water lilies that bloom only in June, supports the existence of seasons since prehistoric times. The creation of two large luminaries, Sun and Moon, occurs after light exists, reinforcing the concept of a sunlight source. Before these celestial bodies, the ages mentioned correspond to stages or epochs in the creation narrative, not all made in a single day. However, we must understand, God only made 7 ages, 7 zodiacal signs, 7 periods. The 7 ages would approximately be around 15,120 years, 105.84 years for 2 complete cycles, 3 complete cycles 74,088 years, 4 complete cycles 518,616 years, 5 cycles 3,630,312 years, 6 cycles 25,412,184 years, 7 complete cycles 177,885,288 years, or a full solar cycle. Note: 5th age of the dinosaurs is 518,616 years, the antediluvian age of 432,000 years, the age of mankind is 466.685 years, around the 500,000 mark. However, we must understand the 12 zodiac signs are different sizes, widths and lengths, not a uniform manner, of an equal of 2,160 years each of the signs. Virgo is the largest, so time variables will be different. Note patterns. Upon further reading of the 7 ages, 7 zodiac signs, throughout this paper, I've noticed a strange pattern: Aries, Taurus, Aquarius, Pisces, Gemini. We have not ended the 6th age at this point in the creation, of which Capricorn, and the 7th age of creation of man, of which God rest, setting the start back to the zodiacal Cancer. The pattern, how does it work?
Enoch 80. And in those days the messenger Uriel answered and said to me, See, I have shown you all matters, Enoch, and I have revealed all to you that you should see, this sun and this moon, and the leaders of the stars of the Shemaim and all those who turn them, their tasks and times and departures. And in the days of the sinners the years shall be shortened, and their seed shall be late on their lands and fields, and all on the earth shall alter, and shall not appear in their time, and the rain shall be kept back and the Shemaim shall withhold. And in those times the fruits of the earth shall be backward, and shall not grow in their time, and the fruits of the trees shall be withheld in their time. And the moon shall alter her order, and not appear at her time. And in those days the sun shall be seen, and he shall journey in the evening on the extremity of the great chariot in the west, and shall shine more brightly than accordance with the order of light. And many chiefs of the stars shall transgress the order, and these shall alter their orbits and tasks, and not appear at the seasons prescribed to them. And the whole order of the stars shall be concealed from the sinners, and the thoughts of those on the earth shall err concerning them, and they shall be altered from all their ways, also they shall go astray and take them to be mighty ones.
Very simple, the Earth's rotation reverses, thus the zodiac will also go backwards. Satan, Chronos, Saturn, rotates the Earth, after the end of the seventh age, and repeat the cycle all over again. The pendulum effect starts on Capricorn, and ends on Cancer. The crab is a symbol of walking side to side, or back and forth on the same path, repeats its path. The ages are a pendulum, from the first age to the seventh age, repeating the 7 ages, of which God only actually made 7 ages, going back and forth repeating the same 7 ages, same events, same patterns, same cycles, only in different ages, over the same 15,120 years. Ending with Aquarius, the cup of forgetfulness, it's impossible for man to keep track of time. Nor can the soul progress beyond the Perset, astronomical pendulum clock. Satan is indeed a master of time. Cancer reverses the zodiac, and back to Capricorn, going through Aquarius, the cup of forgetfulness, and restarting the cycle again. Never fulfilling a complete cycle of the 12 signs of zodiac, thus the antediluvians repeats the same cycles of events, never progressing beyond zodiacal Cancer. Into Sagittarius, interestingly after the creation of mankind on the 8th age, the zodiac shifts to Sagittarius, ruling planet is Venus, but it's still 7 ages of God. Important note, this will be repeated later. Enoch will name the god which corrupted the earth as the one that is. This god, which was only called, that is Venus, the shapeshifter, Aphrodite, both male or female, and is only known as, that is, whereas the other gods are called, he. This is where typology is strongest, and we must notice these texts, these single words. They chose the words wisely, and we should read them wisely too, and notice. Venus, both Jezebel the harlot, and Lucifer, the light bringer, is ruling during the rise of mankind with the ever-living God, Jupiter. This is important and fits the texts of 2 civilizations, as you will uncover, as you progress through this paper. Venus, also known as the shapeshifter, the trickster, rules during the fall of man, and the half-breeds, of the Book of Enoch, the corruptions, the Book of Enoch, and also Venus is also Tiamat, the serpent or dragon, of the Sumerians, Marduk. Jupiter overthrows Venus, or Tiamat, it's still the same narrative. Reference, Ferrofenton Bible 1913, the Book of Genesis 2:4. These were the productions for the heavens and the earth during their creation at the period of their organization by the Lord God, of both the earth and heavens, and of every plant of the field before it was upon the earth, and every herb of the field before he caused it to grow, even before the ever-living God had scattered them upon the earth and man existed not to cultivate the earth. Note, these were the productions for the heavens and the earth during their creation, at the period of their organization, by the Lord God. The sky was different during the dinosaurs and the Ice Age. Lord God, that is Mars. Note, even before the ever-living God, 2 gods, God with a capital G, and the ever-living God, Jupiter. Note, Lord God, he caused it to grow, even before the ever-living God had scattered them upon the earth. This means the red light from Mars during the opening creation caused the planets and herbs to grow, first. Lord God Mars, not God with a capital G, Saturn. Not the ever-living God Jupiter. Note, Jupiter ruling during the dinosaur age, will explain giantism. Jupiter massive electromagnetic, plasma fields, is having an effect on all life on the Earth. Jupiter, blue light. Saturn is still spacewalking the heavens. His black light doesn't interfere with the Earth. Dinosaurs were both flying birds, and to say flying bird, when birds fly, is to mean flying lizards, and reptiles of the waters, and monsters of the sea, of which eons populated the whole Earth. They were from the beginning vegetarian, and fruit eaters, which means fruits during these times contained high portions and amino acids, which are vital for the physical body, because they are the building blocks for proteins essential for building and repairing tissues, creating hormones, and neurotransmitters. But they grew to very large sizes, and consume, until they consumed too much. They ate everything, trees, plants, including small growing trees whole. Example of just one dinosaur, a brontosaurus. It could eat trees completely whole, or till the tree is exhausted and stripped and move on to another, eventually moving on to smaller, younger trees, and plant life, season migration and the constant consumption of the earth, and ever-increasing numbers, and the ever-increasing hunger. If we put things in a realistic manner, just 20 or 50 brontosaurus could consume an entire forest, which would eventually impact the whole ecosystem. Earth cannot sustain itself and also them. It was doomed from its very foundation. Here is the first pattern of many repeating patterns, the duality, and God started the evil cycle, the carnivore cycle, to balance the ecosystem. The carnivore cycle, Mars, must intervene. 2. The dinosaur age, the rise and the fall. Reference Ferrofenton Bible 1913, the Book of Genesis. God also said, "See, I have given you for food every fruit and grain-bearing plant upon the surface of the whole earth, as well as fruit and seed-bearing trees and all vegetation, so that they may be food for you, and for every animal of the earth, and for every bird of the skies, and for every reptile upon the earth, which possesses the life of animals." And it was done. And God gazed upon all that he had made, and it was very beautiful. Thus the close came, and the dawn came of the sixth age. Note 1. See, I have given you for food every fruit and grain-bearing plant upon the surface of the whole earth, as well as fruit and seed-bearing trees and all vegetation. 2. So that they may be food for you, and for every animal of the earth, and for every bird of the skies, and for every reptile upon the earth, which possesses the life of animals. 3. As I said in my last video, they are all herbivores, from the very beginning of their creation. Mars red light and Venus green light, and Mercury purple light, created the vegetation before the blue light of Jupiter, the dinosaurs. However, it is the start or the age of the carnivores, duality, and a rebalance of the ecosystem. References TED TV, interview with John R. Jack Horner, Regents Professor of Paleontology, MSU Bozeman. Dr. Jack Horner explains his research methods by cutting dinosaurs' bones in half and analysts of bone structure. He notes the honeycombed structure on the dinosaur bones resemble the same honeycombed structures as our modern bones. The honeycombed structures will compact closer together via age and growth, meaning the younger dinosaurs' bones have a more evenly spaced honeycombed structures, whereas older bones the honeycombed structure is more compact and smaller or denser. Also, the rate of growth was noted as extreme, or accelerated. After analyzing the bones, he found the assumed adult size T-Rex was found to be that of only 16-18 years of age. Again, assuming the Brontosaurus was an adult, it was found to be only of 40-45 years of age. This a huge contrast to our modern elephants, which reach the ages of 18 years old, are fully grown adults often living into their 70s. Whereas adult Brontosaurus is 10 times that of an elephant. Which begs the question of what is a lifespan really? Do dinosaurs reach a max age and then just die? Or the logical answer is immortality, to mean to try and live long enough to outmass the predators? This also is a good question. Will a T-Rex get to such a large size like Godzilla? and to fill its hunger needs, and actually put up a fight? Regardless of its size nor how scary the T-Rex appears, it still lacks the body armor and the offensive weaponry to take on the walking battle tanks of the herbivores. The T-Rex is no doubt the smartest apex-eating machine that targeted the young and its prime target, the very easy-picking rich eggs. It was the last of its kind before Earth cataclysm. Had these apex dinosaurs continued, I very much doubt the ecosystem could survive any longer, never mind the remaining 2 ages. Dinosaur eggs are tough and far stronger than bird eggs. Keeping in mind these dinosaurs are walking eating machines, would move with the seasons, there is a lot of evidence dinosaurs didn't raise their young, which makes sense because the young would need to be ready to fight as soon as they are born. This would mean that eggs are left unattended or guarded. Some may have buried their eggs, however eggs are a prime targets. Reproductive biology and egg predation strategy. Egg laying and nesting, fossil evidence, including a medullary bone presence found in T-Rex specimens, conclusively indicates that T-Rex reproduced via egg laying, similar to modern birds. This supports my foundational premise that dinosaur eggs were abundant and critical reproductive units in ecosystems. Given the large population sizes hypothesized for dinosaurs, egg availability would have been extensive, making eggs a highly accessible and nutrient-rich food resource for predators. Egg properties. Dinosaur eggs, particularly those of large theropods, are inferred to have had thick, calcified shells adapted to protect against physical stresses and environmental challenges. My proposal that dinosaur eggs were tougher and more resistant than modern avian or crocodilian eggs is reasonable, considering the harsher prehistoric conditions and predator-prey pressures. This toughness would require specialized predatory behavior and dentition to breach. While no Brontosaurus eggs have been definitively found, sauropod eggs, which Brontosaurus belongs to, were roughly 18 centimeters long and 5.5 liters in volume. Other large sauropod eggs have been found to be about 18 inches, 45 centimeters, long, with a width of about 6 inches, 15 centimeters, though many thousands of titanosaur eggs measuring 13–15 centimeters in diameter have been discovered. Sauroposeidon and Brachiosaurus, which could reach heights of up to 50–70 feet, sauropod weight varied significantly, but estimates range from a few tons for smaller species to as much as 90–100 tons. The Hypsilosaurus briscus egg was one of the largest known dinosaur eggs, measuring approximately 1 foot, 30 centimeters, in length and 10 inches, 25.5 centimeters, in diameter. Note 6 liters per egg, that's a lot of nutrition. Anatomical and ecological interpretations of T-Rex. Morphological adaptations. The anatomy of T-Rex shows several features consistent with a predatory strategy focused on rapid strikes and egg predation rather than sustained combat with large prey. The dentition, characterized by large, robust, and serrated teeth, is suited for powerful grip and bone crushing rather than slicing or precision chewing. This supports the notion that T-Rex employed a bite-and-hold tactic, potentially for accessing eggs or carcasses. The narrow, deep skull and relatively small, forward-facing eyes suggest it's to reduce cause of injury when sliding its head into a nest or burrow. Eyes also suggest adaptations for precise targeting rather than broad visual tracking or grappling with large prey, aligning with a hit-and-run predation concept. Small forelimbs with limited grasping ability indicate that T-Rex did not rely heavily on its arms for prey capture, again consistent with a strategy emphasizing bite strength and speed. Behavioral ecology. My ecological model posits that T-Rex adopted a specialized niche targeting eggs and vulnerable juveniles in the competitive eat-or-be-eaten landscape. This concept is supported by rapid growth rates of juvenile dinosaurs, suggesting precocial development reducing parental care reliance and increasing hatchling vulnerability immediately after birth. Egg predation would exert significant selective pressure on herbivore populations, potentially contributing to population sinks and ecological instability. Such predator pressure and ecological dynamics could induce population fluctuations and collapse, themes reflected in the typological framework as ecological cycles ending in collapse and renewal. Scientific context and considerations. Consistency with paleobiology integrates well with current interpretations that recognize variability in dinosaur parental care, reproductive strategies, and ecological interactions. Although direct evidence of T-Rex egg predation is limited, behavioral analogies with extant archosaurs and predator-prey dynamics lend plausibility to the scenario. The evolutionary implications. The predation on eggs and juveniles by apex predators such as T-Rex could have been a critical byproduct supporting broader ecological and evolutionary patterns observed in the fossil record. Limitations and speculative elements. While many aspects are grounded in empirical data, certain aspects such as exact behavior of T-Rex during egg predation, specific migration patterns, and the detailed biomechanics of egg cracking remain speculative due to fossil record incompleteness. These require further paleontological discoveries or biomechanical modeling for confirmation. 1. Herbivore adaptation and the extremely large sizes, beyond our own animals to date. Herbivores such as Brontosaurus reached extreme mass and defensive capability. Fossil analysis indicates, bone studies by Jack Horner evidences proves that adult Brontosaurus specimens were growing at an accelerated rates, and shape-shifting as they matured. It is eat and grow, or be eaten. Despite these adaptations, herbivores could not compensate for apex predators systematically preying on their young and eggs. This arms race between predators and herbivores represents a self-limiting system. Growth and adaptation reached ecological ceilings, after which collapse became inevitable. Note: the ecosystem collapse and transition. The dominance of apex predators led to population instability. Systematic predation reduced reproductive success of herbivores. Ecological overshoot, continued growth of both predator and prey led to resource exhaustion. The Ice Age megafauna, including mammoths and saber-toothed cats, followed similar predator-prey dynamics. Early humans, Cro-Magnons, emerged as the dominant intelligent species, continuing the cycle of survival, adaptation, and predation in a new form. It is a eat or be eaten ecosystem, and the link, the plants, and trees, they didn't evolve strong defenses, or evolve deadly poisons, nor did they reproduce at an accelerated rate. To keep up with demand, plants and tree evolution remained the same. The red, the green light and purple light, could only carry the burden for so long. Jupiter's blue light can only serve its purpose. Without all the lights, the ecosystem will fall. Evidence indicates, dinosaurs underwent morphological and ecological plasticity, including flight adaptations and habitat specialization. Evolutionary transitions between land, water, and air-based lifestyles demonstrate self-directed adaptation to changing environmental conditions. Note: the obvious duality, intelligence over mass, four-legged dinosaurs, versus two-legged dinosaurs, brawn, and brain size, the winning factor. 1. Two-legged predator success relied less on size and more on speed and intelligence. 2. Two-legged predators evolved larger brains relative to body size, enabling strategy, coordination, and efficient hunting. Many are of the bird family, and are smart. 3. Four-legged herbivore defenses, while impressive, could not overcome strategic predation. 4. The rise of intelligent bipeds continued this trend, marking a shift from brute strength to cognitive dominance as the primary survival factor. 5. Switching to the tactic of nest raiding and egg eating, or younger prey, eventually created a paradox in the ecosystem. sustainability with both fauna and flora were both suffered, young trees eaten whole and young trees unable to grow, all plant life was affected. 6. Two-legged hit-and-run tactics, egg snatching, or target young easy prey. 7. Four-legged are much larger, have armor, horns, spikes and other defenses, primarily defensive animals, but smaller brains. 8. The paradoxes are, living long enough to protect itself, and also reproduce, a race against time. 9. Combined with the fact that animals and dinosaurs are nomadic in nature, they would also follow the passing seasons, follow water, they migrate. Note: weakness: the two-legged dinosaurs, regardless of size and strength, are not designed for direct confrontation. They lack offense and defensive weaponry, often resulting in obsolete limbs and function, to mean not required. Even prehistory, some fish have a lot of deformities, such as the mouth and jaws, a 3:1 ratio to body scale. Fossil have found fish eating prey which is far larger than the fish itself, resulting in death. There seems to be a point towards the end of the dinosaurs when mutation and obsolete body limbs are more apparent, to mean the ecosystem was struggling to keep up with demand and affected all forms of life except one, vegetation, which either evolved deadly defenses or reproduce at an accelerated rate. Trees didn't stand a chance of reproduction and was the weak link in the whole ecosystem. Because fossil trees often are found with a cut appearance, or simply eaten whole by a large dinosaur, leaving mostly fossil tree stumps. Let's compare two giants. A T-Rex was about 12 meters long, stood roughly 4 meters tall at the hips, and weighed an estimated 8 to 10 tons. Its only weapon is its large mouth, but it also has stamina and speed. Related to the bird family, a larger brain means it's very smart. A Stegosaurus was approximately 9 meters, 30 feet, long and stood about 4 meters, 13 feet, tall at the hips, weighing between 5 to 7 tons. Complete body armor, ergonomics, and a large spiked tail. Mass-wise they are around the same, however mainstream paints a Stegosaurus as a slow cumbersome animal. Understand, a bull elephant can run up to around 15-20 miles per hour using its 5-6 ton mass as a weapon. A stampede, logically a 7-ton Stegosaurus charging at the enemy, will have devastating consequences. A T-Rex just hasn't the weaponry or armor to fight walking battle tanks head-on, and to survive every battle, and remain unharmed, or minimum injury, so it may grow up to such a size in the first place. Realistically, the T-Rex has a fatal flaw: its 2 large legs. Any damage or injury, or maimed, will reduce the T-Rex advantages dramatically, hinder and be very problematic. The T-Rex strength is stamina and speed and a large mouth, to bite and hold, hit and run tactics. The height of Spinosaurus varies depending on the measurement point, but it was approximately 5.4 to 6 meters, 17.7 to 19.7 feet, at the head. Estimates for the weight of a Spinosaurus vary, ranging from approximately 8 tons, but again, though larger than a T-Rex, and can also walk on 2 legs, it is primarily amphibious. And, not forgetting the massive freak of nature, the Megalodon, it had fully taken a slimline fish form, the aquatic apex predator with no real competition among marine animals, complements this ecosystem model. It evolved into a fast, powerful, streamlined, fully adapted in its environment, with its extremely large mouth, an eating machine, where size and mass is now been made irrelevant, young or old. The same on land and air. Conclusion: cyclical renewal. 1. Dinosaurs exemplify a self-contained system of growth, lifespan acceleration, reproduction, and consumption. 2. Apex predators like T-Rex, Spinosaurus and Megalodons would have drove the system to its ecological limits. 3. Herbivores like Brontosaurus reached maximum mass and defense capabilities. 4. Fossil evidence confirms that these apex species reached full size in surprisingly fast. T-Rex 16 years, Brontosaurus 45 years. 5. Collapse was inevitable once predator specialization exceeded prey recovery, producing an ecological reset. 6. New cycles emerged: mammals, intelligent bipeds, and birds as the inheritors of ecological dominance. 7. The Earth itself became smaller and unable to sustain the numbers of dinosaurs, by means of vegetation, land and sea. Biblical narratives reflect this pattern of death and rebirth, aligning with observable ecological and evolutionary principles. In short, the evolutionary endgame of dinosaurs was the result of their own success, apex specialization, strategic intelligence, and relentless predation. This pattern mirrors broader natural cycles, continuing into mammalian and human dominance. The myth of Saturn, or Cronus in Greek, consuming his children reflects the cyclical nature of time, power, and generational transition. It symbolizes how the old order consumes, suppresses, or prevents the rise of the new. Symbolically, it's about time consuming youth and potential, and the inevitability of change despite attempts at control and stasis. Note: the end of the dinosaurs and ecosystem by the sword of Mars. Mars must intervene. Shocked quartz in fossils. Shocked quartz is a mineral that exhibits distinctive features due to high-pressure events, such as asteroid impacts. These features include planar deformation features, microscopic layers within the quartz crystal structure, high-pressure polymorphs, such as coesite and stishovite, which form under extreme conditions. These shock-induced characteristics are often found in sediment layers associated with significant impact events, like the Cretaceous-Paleogene (KPG) boundary, which coincides with the mass extinction event that wiped out the dinosaurs. Prehistoric water lilies, nympheals, water lilies, belonging to the order Nympheals, are among the oldest known flowering plants. Fossil evidence indicates their presence as early as the early Cretaceous period, around 125 to 115 million years ago. These plants were primarily freshwater dwellers, thriving in lakes, ponds, and slow-moving rivers. Their fossilized remains provide insights into the evolution of angiosperms, flowering plants, and the ecological conditions of prehistoric aquatic environments. Tektites are natural glass objects formed by the intense heat and pressure generated during meteorite impacts. These impacts melt terrestrial rocks, which then cool rapidly to form glassy bodies. Tektites are characterized by composition, primarily silica, CO, with low water content. Appearance-wise, typically black, green, brown, or gray, resembling obsidian. Formation occur in strewn fields, areas where debris from an impact is distributed over a wide region. While shocked quartz and tektites are both products of high-energy impact events, there is evidence linking these materials to prehistoric water lilies or their fossils, because water lilies only bloom in the month of June, marking the event peak summer or the sun at its strongest. The presence of shocked quartz in sediment layers often indicates a significant impact event, but this does not imply that the plants themselves contained or were associated with these materials. Prehistoric water lilies could have been exposed to high-energy events, leading to the incorporation of shocked minerals into their structures. Tektites and shocked quartz found in sediment layers could be associated with the same impact events that affected the surrounding flora and fauna. Reference: Ferrofenton Bible 1913, The Book of Genesis 1:26-28. God then said, "Let us make men under our shadow, as our representatives, and subject to them the fish of the waters and the birds of the sky, and the quadrupeds, as well as the whole of the earth, and every reptile that creeps upon it." So God created men under his own shadow, creating them in their shadow of God, and constituting the male and female. God then gave them his blessing, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply so as to fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and the birds of the skies, and over every living animal that moves upon the earth." Note: God creates men, not man, as our representatives, and constituting them male and female, in the shadow of God. This is to means the misty air and thick clouds of the Ice Age, when the stars and sun wasn't fully visible. And constituting them male and female, they are both sexes or hermaphrodites. God made men, obviously male appearances, due to the robust nature of the Ice Age. They reproduce themselves, through the blood, by conception. Their soul is locked in the blood, life force. 1. Elongated, narrow, shaped like skulls. 2. Large, forward-facing eyes with rectangular orbits. 3. Flat foreheads. 4. Self or reproductive soul transmission by passing themselves through the blood, they are their own father. 5. Forward gaze equals narrowed self-awareness, but also limited field of view because their eyeballs sit inside of rectangle eye sockets. Thus Cro-Magnons would have a fixed forward view, or paramaniac view of the world. 6. Definitely not human, but a precursor or a different branch entirely. 7. Dual-gender reproduction, like dinosaurs. Cro-Magnons have both male and female reproduction system, still a reproductive system of that of the dinosaurs. This creates a problem with diversity and personality, limited. Or they all think the same, similar to collective thinking, humans, individual intellect. 8. Vision forward predatory, forward introspective, and humans, wider social perception. 9. Intelligence instinctual, and humans, self-rational thinking. 10. Personality uniform, limited, and humans, vast range. 11. Fate, dominance, collapse, rise, stagnation. And humans, self-thinking and can conform own belief, breaks Saturn's cycle. 12. Cycle is repeating, AI is uniform and collective thinking, and humans, and society are becoming less individual, and governments are forcing one race, one gender, one mind. Reference: Ferrofenton Bible 1913, the Book of Genesis 2:7. The ever-living God afterwards formed man from the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the life of animals, but man became a life-containing soul. The ever-living God then planted a garden in Eden, in the east, and there he placed the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground the ever-living God caused to grow all the trees that were beautiful and good for food, as well as the tree of lives in the center of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Note: humans are a soul container, and humans have a living soul, and the man with a living soul, named the animals of earth, and man, are separate, male and females. Note: man is formed from dust and endowed with a life breath, becoming a life-containing soul. Note: distinguishes humans as soul containers. Note: Cro-Magnons both male and female. Note: Cro-Magnon's soul is within the blood. Reference: the Book of Joshua, first book of the Book of Adam and Eve. 11. O Adam, arise and stand up. This sun is not God, but it has been created to give light by day, of which I spake unto thee in the cave, saying, that the dawn would break forth, and there would be light by day. 12. But I am God who comforted thee, in the night. Note: proof there was in fact two suns, and the organization of the stars are different as they are today. God or Elohim tells Adam both: 1. He is not the sun, 2. He is the sun who comforts Adam at night. Note: this sun is not God, but it has been created to give light by day. Again, the gods, they reveal the same narrative, telling you the sun is just a tool. By hiding the sun's power as their own, the two suns. After the destruction of the dinosaurs and the creation of both Cro-Magnon and humans, we can follow the events by reading the cuneiform texts, using the world Blundell prism, which is often called the King List, and follow the patterns. Reference: Oxford editions of cuneiform texts edited under the direction of S. Langdon, Professor of Assyriology 1923. Sumerian King List. Of the 23 kings of Kish who reigned after the flood, all but 2 are preserved, with the exception of the 5th and 6th names, which are partially preserved. The lengths of their reigns are naturally mythical, and the huge total of 24,510 years 3 months and 3 days is probably due to an astronomical calculation of the so-called world year, or period of 25,920 years, of the Sun's apparent revolution through the 12 signs of the zodiac. The precession of the equinoxes, or slow motion of the Earth's axis, in consequence of which the intersection of the equator with the ecliptic travels along the latter at the rate of 1 degree, in 72 years, causes this apparent revolution of the Sun. It is difficult to discover any similar computation in the figures given. Reference: Oxford editions of cuneiform texts edited under the direction of S. Langdon, Professor of Assyriology 1923. Sumerian King List. In the foregoing table I have subjected the actual figures of the prism to severe reduction anterior to the date of the beginning of the Second Kingdom of Ur, 3357, which is reached by dead reckoning, assuming that Kugbor was contemporary with the Aksak Kingdom, and allowing for some obvious mathematical inaccuracies. If we accept the actual figures of the prism, the first king after the flood ruled 34,685 BC. The first ruler of Ur began to reign 10,175 BC, the second kingdom of Kish began in 7,332 and Harmasi seized the hegemony in 4137 BC. It is impossible to give credence to these figures, at any rate before 4137 for Harmasi, and I have assigned dates to the period before 3357 entirely on grounds of epigraphy and archaeology. If we allow for the omission of the last 2 kings before the flood by accepting the figures on WB 62, and add 64.800 for these 2 kings, the prism, WB 444, places the first ruler of mankind 340,685 BC, WB 62 would yield 490,685 for the beginning of mankind, and Brissus's figures would be 466,685 BC. Are these figures mere tradition, or is the early Sumerian civilization to be assigned to such remote periods before 10,000 BC? Chinese and Indian tradition used the figures of Brissus for the prehistoric age of man. From a Chinese source of the 8th century Edward Chavan, cites a passage which assigns 432,000 years to the age of the 13 kings of heaven and the 11 kings of earth. The Indian period Kali Yuga corresponds exactly to the figures of Brissus. See Ed. Chavan, Les Mémoires historiques d'Assay Martian, Volume 1, page 18, the reference I owe to Professor Soothill. At any rate we now know that, by consensus of all their traditions, the Sumerians believed the flood to have occurred about 35.000 BC. And that great kingdoms flourished long before 6000 BC. It is difficult to understand how this can have any connection with the Sumerian system and the 432,000 years of the antediluvian period. Note, the 432,000 years of the antediluvian period, the Cro-Magnons. The beginning of mankind 466,685 BC. The humans 126,685 years of the Golden Age lived in peace and harmony. the date of the first ruler of mankind back to approximately 340,685 BC. The flood around 35,000 BC. The first king after the flood ruled 34,685 BC. The 13 kings of heaven is the 13 signs of the zodiac, with Orpheus being the 13th zodiacal sign. The reign lengths of the 23 kings of Kish post-flood are mostly preserved, except partial names for the 5th and 6th kings. The extraordinarily long total reign, often confused with lifespans of 24,510 years, reflects an astronomical calculation linked to the world year of approximately 25,920 years. This world year corresponds to the precession of the equinoxes. Reference: Oxford editions of cuneiform texts edited under the direction of S. Langdon, Professor of Assyriology 1923. Sumerian king list, the kings. Ataridu rulership began. Ataridu-Ulam was king. He ruled 28,800 years. Alagar ruled 36,000 years. Two kings. 64,800 years they ruled. Eridu was overthrown. The rulership to Batibera passed. At Batibera Ingmanduana ruled 43,200 years. Inmangorlana ruled 28,800 years. Dumuzizib ruled 36,000 years. Three kings. They ruled 108,000 years. Batibera was overthrown. The rulership was established at Larak. Adlarak and Sibziana ruled 28,800 years. One king. He ruled 28,800 years. Larak was overthrown. The rulership passed to Sippar. At Sippar in Mendurana was king and ruled 21,000 years. One king, he ruled 21,000 years. Sippar was overthrown. The rulership was established at Sherapak. At Sherapak Ibadadu was king and ruled 18,600 years. One king, he ruled 18,600 years. 5 cities, 8 kings. They ruled 241.200 years. The deluge came up upon the land. 35,000 BC. After the deluge had come, the rulership which descended from heaven. Reference: Oxford editions of cuneiform texts edited under the direction of S. Langdon, Professor of Assyriology 1923. Sumerian king list, Mars. Interesting that the god of the cities, Elulim, then obtained the meaning leader, champion, is for Balu. Lulim equals Olamu, means the male leader of any flock of animals, either domestic or wild, and hence may be rendered stag, hind, or ram. Islulim is a title of a pastoral deity, Gira, Nergal, in Enlulim, Sibndalulim, Lord Lulim, shepherd of the cattle, Gardia, Tgiram Slulamigabar, Gatar who beholds the cattle, D.Iglulim, a doorkeeper of Nergal. The star Lulim is identified with Imzara, Nergal, therefore, probable that Lulim in this name refers to the god of the flocks, Gira, and means hand, help, of the pastoral deity, the leader, therefore, probable that Lulim in this name refers to the god of the flocks, Gira, and means hand, help, of the pastoral deity, the leader, originally Enmeter and Zedemium, traditional founder of the art of divination. It is Mars. Note: when tracking the founding capital cities, we must understand that Mars is the only god mentioned by name. We must also understand by following the founding capital cities in chronicle order, stretching right across in country of Sumer, in great distances in a linear line, until returning to the lower regions near Eridu, the first founding city. Note: Mars starts at Eridu and moves third across great distances of the country of Sumer, to Batibera, and Mars moves another third across the county, even greater distances, heading north to Larak, and then Mars changes direction and travels great distances right across Sumer even further north, to Sipper, at the top of the country. And here's the point: then we get an abnormal traverse, from the top of Sumer northeast. It appears Mars has a large jolt, or jump across the entire country of Sumer, back down to Shurapak, near Eridu. Also, only 4 cities in the whole of Sumer were recorded over the entirety of the antediluvian age, before the flood. Remember this point, as we will come back to this later. Important note: I checked the date of 35,000 BC, and checked the zodiacal signs. The summer solstice, the age is Virgo exit. There is a gap or space between Virgo and Leo approximately 1,600 years. This is known as the Black Sun, where the sun rises on the morning of the summer solstice in no zodiacal sign. This is where Satan has full power, or his rulership, even for a short while. The mystery number .685 is acting like a constant offset that's been added to many of the dates. When I subtract that same 685 from all those numbers, I get much cleaner, round sexagesimal-friendly totals, and the important differences for example 432,000 antediluvian years fall out exactly. In other words, the suffix 685 cancels out in the differences, so it's not changing the meaningful intervals, it's just a fixed epoch offset. Antediluvian total, 432,000, no 685 here. Golden Age, 126,685. Beginning of mankind, 466,685. First ruler of mankind, 340,685 BC. Flood 35,000 BC. First king after the flood, 34,685 BC. Now the key subtractions, do them step by step. 466,685 340,685 equals, subtract last 3 digits, 685 685 equals 0. Subtract the thousands, 466 340 equals 126 126,466,685 34,685 equals 685 685 equals 0. 466 34 equals 432 432,340,685 34,685 equals 685 685 equals 0. 340 34 equals 306 306,000. So the repeated .685 cancels out and leaves round multiples, 126,432,306,000. That explains why I keep seeing nice round totals when I compare the dates. Why someone might have added 685. Offset for convenience. The compiler added a constant 685 to every absolute date so no value is negative, or to convert between calendar eras. That doesn't change intervals, only absolute labels. Transcription, formatting artifact. The dot is being used as a thousands separate, so 466.685 means 466,685. If the same 3 digits were appended in many places by mistake or by template, you get the repeated pattern. Rounding, conversion artifact, converting from sexagesimal or from a symbolic world year system into decimal years sometimes produces a small, consistent residual that an editor then added uniformly, for example, to keep endings consistent. Deliberate symbolic offset. Some chronographers insert an epoch constant, for example, start of world plus 685, for theological or structural reasons. How that helps me reconcile with 432,000 and sexagesimal units, because the offset is constant. The differences between the dates are the meaningful quantities and they already match classical totals. Example, beginning of mankind, 466,685, minus first king after flood, 34,685, equals 432,000 antediluvian years. Also, when I remove the 685 and look at 126,000, instead of 126,685, I get 126,000 equals 35 tilde, 3,600, a clean multiple of 3,600, the sexagesimal friendly block we discussed earlier. So removing the 685 often exposes exact sexagesimal multiples. I think I've decoded the mathematics those early antediluvians were using over 400,000 years ago. Reference: the mul.pin, the Department of Oriental Antiquities, British Museum, 1870. In some remote age there appear to have been three great cities in the country, Eridu, and Nippur, and their divinities Anu, Here, and Bel were considered Babylonian mythology, the great gods of the country. Subsequent changes led to the decline of these cities, but their deities still retained their position at the head of the Babylonian system. These are three leading deities formed members of a circle of 12 gods, also called Great. These gods and their titles are given as 1. Anu, King of Angels and Spirits, Lord of the City of 2. Bel, Lord of the World, Father of the Gods, Creator, Lord of the City of Nippur. 3. Here, Maker of Fate, Lord of the Deep, God of Wisdom and Knowledge, Lord of the City of Eridu. 4. Sin, Lord of Crowns, Maker of Brightness, Lord of the City of 5. Merodach, Just Prince of the Gods, Lord of Birth, Lord of the City of Babylon. 6. Vel, the Strong God, Lord of Canals and Atmosphere, Lord of the City of Meru. 7. Shamash, Judge of Heaven and Earth, Director of all, Lord of the cities of Lhasa and Sippara. 8. Ninip, Warrior of the Warriors of the Gods, Destroyer of Wicked, Lord of the City of Nippur. 9. Nergal, Giant King of War, Lord of the City of Qatar. 10. Nusku, Holder of the Golden Scepter, the Lofty God. 11. Belat, Wife of Bel, Mother of the Great Gods, Lady of the City of Nippur. Ninip, God of hunting and war, was another celebrated son of Elu. He was worshipped with his father at Nippur. Ninip was also much worshipped in Assyria as well as Babylonia, his character as presiding genius of war and the chase making him a favorite deity with the warlike kings of Assur. Sin, the moon god, had a son Shamash, or Samas, the sun god, and a daughter, Istar or Yenus. Shamash is an active deity in some of the Asdubar legends and fables, but he is generally subordinate to Sin. In the Babylonian system the moon takes precedence of the sun, and the Shamash of Lhasa was probably considered a different deity to Shamash of Sippara. A third great god was united with Anu and Here. His names were Anu, Elu, Kaptu, and Bel. He was the original Bel of the Babylonian mythology, and was lord of the surface of the earth and the affairs of men. Elu was lord of the city of Nippur, and had a consort named Belat or Beltis. Elu, or Bel, is the most active of the gods in the general affairs of mankind, and was so generally worshipped in early times that he came to be regarded as the national divinity, and his temple at the city of Xippur was regarded as the type of all temples. The extensive worship of Bel, and the high honor in which he was held, seem to point to a time when his city, Nippur, was the metropolis of the country. Merodach, god of Babylon, appears in all the earlier inscriptions as the agent of his father. Here he goes about in the world collecting information, and receives commissions from his father to set right all that appears wrong. Merodach is an active agent in creation, but is always subordinate to his father here. Hen in later times, after Babylon had been made the capital, Merodach, who was god of that city, was raised to the head of the pantheon. Merodach or Bel wasn't identified with the classical Jupiter, but the name Bel, the Lord, was only given to him in times subsequent to the rise of Babylon. The wife of Merodach was Zirat-Banit, the Succoth-Benoth of the Bible. Nebo, the god of knowledge and literature, who was worshipped at the neighboring city of Borsachba, was a favorite deity in later times, as was also his consort Tasmit. Beside Merodach he had a numerous progeny, his sons being principally river gods. Reference: The Chaldean Account of Genesis, by George Smith, of the Department of Oriental Antiquities, British Museum 1876. 13. The tribute to thy maternity shall be forced upon them by thy weapons. 14. I will stand by unto thee, they shall be made a spoil. 15. Tiamat, on hearing this 16, at once joined and changed her resolution. 17. Tiamat called and quickly arose. 18. Strongly and firmly she encircled with her defenses. 19. She took a girdle and placed 20. And the gods for war prepared for them their weapons. 21. Tiamat attacked the just prince of the gods Merodach. 22. The standard they raised in the conflict like a battle. 23. Bel also drew out his sword and wounded her. Note: Marduk Bel Jupiter. Same God. This is the duality of one God. This duality is constant throughout history, and man only lives for 120 years. Man cannot remember. The Savior God Bel is also the evil god Baal. Bel to Baal, a clever move by Jupiter, for he removed the Tree of Lives. Reference: The Chaldean Account of Genesis, by George Smith, of the Department of Oriental Antiquities, British Museum 1876. The Babylonian account continues with the regulation of the motions of the moon to overshadow the night, to regulate and give light until the dawn of day. The phases of the moon are described, its commencing as a thin crescent at the evening on the first day of the month, and its gradually increasing and traveling further into the night. After the moon, the creation of the sun is recorded, its beauty and perfection are extolled, and the regularity of its orbit, which led to its being considered the type of a judge, and the regulator of the world. The Babylonian account of the creation gives the creation of the moon before that of the sun, in reverse order to that in Genesis, and evidently the Babylonians considered the moon the principal body, while the book of Genesis makes the sun the greater light. Here it is evident that Genesis is truer to nature than the Chaldean text. Note: Sin, the moon god, had a son Shamas, or Samas, the sun god. Note: After the moon the creation of the sun is recorded. Note: The Babylonian account of the creation gives the creation of the moon before that of the sun, in reverse order to that in Genesis. Backwards and forwards is constant throughout history, just as Mars moved back and forth of the entire country of Sumer. Mars is the crow of Noah, who wandered back and forth. As I have said, the earth before the flood was rotating in the opposite direction. This also would make the stars appear to move backwards or forwards, or the stars fell to earth, or the fallen ones, is to mean something had staged the rotation of the earth. Reference: Oxford editions of cuneiform texts edited under the direction of S. Langdon, Professor of Assyriology 1923. The beginning of history is placed to Eridu, the city of the water god Ea, Enki, god of wisdom and mysteries. He is clearly identical with Oananidatos, and his symbol on monuments is the composite creature the Sulla Margu, or goatfish. Sumerian tradition traced the origins of civilization to Eridu, and its patron deity. Reference: The Hallelujah Scriptures, Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church 2012, The Book of Hanok 69:4. And these are the chiefs of their messengers and their names, and their chief ones over hundreds and over fifties and over tens. The name of the first Yakon, that is, the one who led astray the sons of Elohim, and brought them down to the earth, and led them astray through the daughters of men. And the second was named Asboel. He imparted to the Kodesh sons of Elohim evil counsel, and led them astray so that they defiled their bodies with the daughters of men. And the third was named Gadrael. It is he who showed the children of men all the smitings of death, and he led astray Hor, and showed the shield and the coat of mail, and the sword for battle, and all the weapons of death to the children of men. And from his hand they have proceeded against those who dwell on the earth from that day and for eternity. And the fourth was named Penemuel. He taught the children of men the bitter and the sweet, and he taught them all the secrets of their wisdom. And he instructed mankind in writing with ink and paper, and thereby many sinned from everlasting to everlasting and until this day. For men were not created for such a purpose, to give confirmation to their good belief with pen and ink. For men were created exactly like the messengers, to the intent that they should continue pure and righteous. And death, which destroys all matters, could not have taken hold of them, but through this, their knowledge, they are perishing, and through this power it is consuming me. And the fifth was named Castia. This is he who showed the children of men all the wicked smiting of spirits and demons, and the smiting of the embryo in the womb, that it may pass away, and the bites of the serpent, and the smiting which befalls through the noontide heat, the son of the serpent named Abaati. Note the name of the first Yakon, that is, the only angel who is neither male or female, or any distinction. This is the shapeshifter, Venus the false light. Both Lucifer the light-bearer, and Jezebel the harlot of Babylon, Venus has always been recorded as a ever-changing shapeshifter, a comet with plasma trials, which change size and shape. Often most used or seen was an image of the bull horns of heaven, during the very long age of Taurus and Aries.
And his hosts said to him, Power is yours, our master, to do what you command. Then Satan, great in wickedness. After this Satan called to his hosts, all of which came to him, and said to him, Our master, what will you do? Then he said to them, This Adam, whom Elohim created out of the dust, is the one who has taken our reign from us. Come, let us gather together and kill him. Hurl a rock at him and at Hawa, and crush them under it. Remember, I am sticking to the context of the Apocrypha, and the Book of Enoch. Satan has complete control of the messengers, the zodiacal constellations, and the planets, and all negative aspects of their full influences. The sun sets directly in the middle of Libra, Scorpius, Sagittarius, Orpheus, the negative aspects of the planets. The moon, the faculty of increase and diminution of the body, to Mercury, fraud, the architect of evils, to Venus, the seductive law of pleasure, to the sun, the passion for greatness and empire, to Mars, audacity and temerity, to Jupiter, avarice, and to Saturn, falsehood and deceit. 1. Aquarius, he holds not only the cup of generation, but also that of wisdom, or initiation, whose influence is contrary to that of the former, the cup of forgetfulness. 2. Libra, the sign through which souls were said to descend or fall. 3. Sagittarius, besetting with poisonous influence. 4. Capricornus, liable by a partial or hasty view to become darkened into a Shiva, a patron of fierce orgies, or blood-stained altars. 5. Gemini, twins who presided over the oracles of Didymus. These two divinities, the active and passive principles of the universe, symbolized by the generative parts of man and woman, the phallus. So, To help you understand, I will give an example. If Saturn and Venus rise in Capricornus, then that means seductive pleasure, falsehood, deceit, with fierce orgies, and blood-stained altars. Are you understanding the many ways things can get little out of hand? And Adam and Hawa continued in great grief by the burial site for 140 days. Hebel was 15.5 years old, and Cain 17 years and a half. When the mourning for his brother was ended, Cain took his sister Luluwa, and married her, without permission from his father and mother. Because of their heavy hearts they could not keep him from her. He then went down to the foot of the mountain, away from the garden, near the place where he had killed his brother. And in that place were many fruit trees and forest trees. His sister gave birth to his children, who in their turn began to multiply by degrees until they filled that place, after Cain had gone down to the land of dark soil, and his children had multiplied. There was one of them, whose name was Jenon, son of Lamech the blind, who slew Cain. Satan came to Jenon in his childhood and made a variety of trumpets and horns, and string instruments, cymbals and psalteries, and lyres and harps, and flutes. And Jenon played them at all times and at every hour. And when he played them, Satan came to them, so that from among them were heard beautiful and sweet sounds that seized the heart with delight. Typology, allegory, trumpets and horns, and string instruments, cymbals and psalteries, and lyres and harps, and flutes, were heard beautiful and sweet sounds that seized the heart with delight. The Lyra constellation represents the lyre of Orpheus, the musician and poet in Greek mythology. Orpheus was known for his ability to charm even stones with his music. Orpheus the serpent-bearer. Then he gathered many crowds to play on them, and when they played it greatly pleased the children of Cain, who fanned themselves to flames of sin among themselves, and they burned with fire while Satan inflamed their hearts with one another, and lust increased among them. Satan also taught Jenon to make strong drink out of corn. Jenon used this to bring together crowd upon crowd in houses of drink, and brought into their hands all kinds of fruits and flowers, and they drank together. Typology, Satan also taught Jenon to make strong drink out of corn. Diodorus speaks of the famous columns erected near Nizar, in Arabia, where, it was said, were two of the tombs of Osiris and Isis. On one was this inscription: I am Isis, queen of this country. I was instructed by Mercury, no one can destroy the laws which I have established. I am the eldest daughter of Saturn, most ancient of the gods. I am the wife and sister of Osiris the king. I first made known to mortals the use of wheat. I am the mother of Horus the king. In my honor was the city of Bubast built. Rejoice, O Egypt, rejoice, land that gave me birth. And on the other was this: I am Osiris the king, who led my armies into all parts of the world, to the most thickly inhabited countries of India, the north, the Danube, and the ocean. I am the eldest son of Saturn. I was born of the brilliant and magnificent egg, and my substance is of the same nature as that which composes light. There is no place in the universe where I have not appeared, to bestow my benefits and make known my discoveries. The rest was illegible, to aid her in the search for the body of Osiris, and to nurse her infant child horns. Isis sought out and took with her Anubis, son of Osiris, and his sister Nephte. He, as we have said, was Sirius, the brightest star in the heavens. After finding him, she went to Byblos, and seated herself near a fountain, where she had learned that the sacred chest had stopped which contained the body of Osiris. 1. I am Osiris the king. I am the eldest son of Saturn, who led my armies into all parts of the world. 2. I am Isis, queen of this country. I am the eldest daughter of Saturn, most ancient of the gods. I was instructed by Mercury. I first made known to mortals the use of wheat. 3. Mercury, Hermes, Thoth. Jenon did this to multiply sin greatly. He also acted with pride. and taught the children of Cain to commit all manner of the grossest wickedness, which they did not know until then. And he put them up to all kinds of deeds, which they did not know of before. Then, when Satan saw that they obeyed Jinnun and listened to him in everything he told them, he rejoiced greatly, and he increased Jinnun's understanding until he took iron and with it made weapons of war. 25th degree, Night of the Brazen Serpent. We learn this from Celsus, in Origin, who says that the symbolic image of this passage among the stars, need in the Mithrine mysteries, was a ladder, reaching from earth to heaven, divided into 7 steps or stages, to each of which was a gate, and at the summit an 8th, that of the fixed stars. The first gate, says Celsus, was that of Saturn, and of lead, by the heavy nature whereof his dull slow progress was symbolized. The second, of tin, was that of Venus, symbolizing her soft splendor and easy flexibility. The third, of brass, was that of Jupiter, emblem of his solidity and dry nature. The fourth, of iron, was that of Mercury, expressing his indefatigable activity and sagacity. The fifth, of copper, was that of Mars, expressive of his inequalities and variable nature. The sixth, of silver, was that of the moon, and the seventh, of gold, that of the sun. Enoch 52:5. And that messenger of peace answered, saying unto me, Wait a little, and there shall be revealed unto you all the secret matters which surround Most High of Hosts. And these mountains, which your eyes have seen, the mountain of iron, and the mountain of copper, and the mountain of silver, and the mountain of gold, and the mountain of soft metal, and the mountain of lead, all these shall be in the presence of the elect one as wax before the fire, and like the water which streams down from above, and they shall become powerless before his feet. And it shall come to be in those days that none shall be saved, either by gold or by silver, and none be able to escape. And there shall be no iron for war, nor shall one clothe oneself with a breastplate. Bronze shall be of no service, and tin shall not be steamed, and lead shall not be desired. 32nd degree, Sublime Prince of the Royal Secret. Which colors were anciently assigned to the several planets, as follows: white, to the moon; yellow, to the sun; blue, to Jupiter; black, to Saturn; green, to Venus; purple, to Mercury; and crimson, to Mars. Enoch 98:2. For you men shall put on more adornments than a woman, and more colored garments than a maiden, in royalty and in splendor and in power, and in silver and in gold and in purple, and in splendor and in food they shall be poured out as water. Therefore they shall be lacking in instruction, and wisdom, and they shall perish thereby together with their possessions and with all their esteem and their splendor, and in shame and in slaughter and in great destitution, their spirits shall be cast into the furnace of fire. 22nd degree, Knight of the Royal Axe, or Prince of Libanus. The candlestick with 7 branches, upon the apron, represents what were anciently known as the 7 planets or principal heavenly bodies: Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, the Sun, Moon, Venus and Mercury, and the 7 angels that the Hebrews assigned to their government: to Saturn, Michael; to Jupiter, Gabriel; to Mars, Uriel; to the Sun, Zerachiel; to the Moon, Sophiel; to Venus, Hamaliel; and to Mercury, Raphael, signifying, in Hebrew, respectively, the semblance, the strength, the fire, the rising, the messenger, the mercy and the healing, of El, the great Semitic god of the ancient patriarchs, as to whom and these planets and angels, and their connection with masonry, you will be more fully instructed as you advance. And as Azuel taught men to make swords, and knives, and shields, and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and bracelets, and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the adorning of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. Then when they were drunk, hatred and murder increased among them. One man would use violence against another and Satan would teach him evil, in that one man would take the other man's children and defile them before him. And when men saw they were vanquished and saw that others were not beaten, those who were beaten came to Jinan and took refuge with him, and he made them part of his group. Then sin increased among them greatly, until a man married his own sister, or daughter, or mother, and others, or the daughter of his father's sister, so that there was no more distinction of relationship, and they could no longer discern what was sin and what was not, but always were wicked and the earth was defiled with sin. And they angered Elohim the judge, who had created them. But Jinan gathered together groups and groups, that played on horns and on all the other instruments, we have already mentioned, at the foot of the Kodesh. Typology, allegory, in the occult, instruments, are the zodiacal constellations, the instruments used for its astrology. 12th degree, Grand Master Architect. The hangings are white, strewed with crimson flames. Behind the Master, in the east, are 5 columns, each of a different order of architecture, Tuscan, Doric, Ionic, Corinthian and Composite. In the north, is painted the North Star, and a little below it the 7 stars, of the Great Bear. In the heat, behind the columns, is a luminous star, representing Jupiter, rising in the east, as the morning star. Upon the altar, which is in the center of the room, are the Holy Bible, and on it all the instruments, contained in a cane, of mathematical instruments. The chapter is lighted by 3 great lights, one in the east, one in the west, and one in the south. Over the columns, in the east, hangs a triangle, enclosing the word, Adonis. They did that so the children of Sheth who were on the Kodesh mountain would hear it. But when the children of Sheth heard the noise, they wandered, and came by companies, and stood on the top of the mountain to look at those below. This went on an entire year. At the end of that year, Jinan saw that they were being won over to him little by little. Satan entered into him, and taught him to make the elements for dyeing garments of various patterns, and made him understand how to dye crimson and purple and what not. And the sons of Cain who worked at all of this shone in beauty and gorgeous apparel. And they gathered together at the foot of the mountain in splendor, with horns, and gorgeous dresses, and horse races, and they were committing all manner of disgusting acts. Meanwhile the children of Sheth, who were on the Kodesh mountain, prayed and praised Elohim in the place of the hosts of messengers who had fallen. Elohim had called them messengers, because he rejoiced over them greatly. But after this time they no longer kept his commandment, nor were held by the promise he had made to their fathers. But they relaxed from their fasting and praying, and from the counsel of Yahweh their father. And they kept on gathering together on the top of the mountain to watch the children of Cain, from morning until evening. And they watched what they did and they looked at their beautiful dresses and ornaments. Then the children of Cain looked up from below, and saw the children of Sheth, standing in numbers on the top of the mountain, and they called to them to come down to them. But from above them, the children of Sheth said, "We don't know the way." Then Jinan, the son of Lamech, heard them say they did not know the way, and he began to think to himself of ways he might bring them down. Then Satan appeared to him by night, saying, "There is no way for them to come down from the part of the mountain on which they live, but when they come out tomorrow, say to them, come to the western side of the mountain. You will find a stream of water that comes down to the foot of the mountain, between 2 hills. That marks the way. Come down that way to us. The west side of the Kodesh mountain." Then when it was day, Jinan blew the horns and beat the drums below the mountain, as he was accustomed to do. The children of Sheth heard it and came as they used to do. Then Jinnun said to them from down below, "Go to the western side of the mountain, there you will find the way to come down." But when the children of Sheth heard these words from him, they went back into the cave to Ya'ad to tell him all they had heard. Then when Ya'ad heard it, he was grieved because he knew that they would defy his wishes. After this 100 men of the children of Sheth gathered together and said among themselves, "Come, let us go down to the children of Cain and see what they do, and enjoy ourselves with them." But when Ya'ad heard this of the 100 men, his very soul was moved, and his heart was grieved. He then stood with great emotion in the middle of them, and earnestly compelled them by the blood of Hebel the just and said, "Let no one of you go down from this Kodesh and pure mountain, in which our fathers have ordered us to live." But when Ya'ad saw that they did not listen to his words, he said to them, "My good, innocent, and Kodesh children, you must understand that once you go down from this Kodesh mountain, Elohim will not allow you to return to it again." He again adjured them, saying, "I plead with you by the death of our father Adam, and by the blood of Hebel, of Sheth, of Enosh, of Canaan, and of Mahalalel, to listen to me. Do not go down from this Kodesh mountain, because the moment you leave it, life and mercy will be taken from you and you shall no longer be called a children of Elohim, but a children of the devil." But they would not listen to his words. Hanok was already grown up at that time, and in his zeal for Elohim, he stood and said, "Hear me, you large and small sons of Sheth. When you transgress the commandment of our fathers and go down from this Kodesh mountain, you shall not come up here again forever." But they rose up against Hanok and would not listen to his words, but they went down from the Kodesh mountain. And it came to be, when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them good-looking and lovely daughters. And the messengers, the children of the Shemaim, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, "Come, let us choose as wives from among the children of men and bring forth children." And Shemyatsar, who was their leader, said unto them, "I fear you will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin." And they all answered him and said, "Let us all swear an oath, and all bind ourselves by mutual curses not to abandon this plan but to do this matter." Then they all swore together and bound themselves by mutual curses upon it. And they were, in all, 200 who descended in the days of Ya'ad on the summit of Mount Hermon, and they called it Mount Hermon, because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual curses upon it. And these are the names of their leaders: Shamlatsats, their leader, Arakelba, Ramuel, Kokabuel, Tamaluel, Ramaluel, Danuel, Yeskuel, Barakuel, Asael, Amaros, Bataruel, Ananoel, Sakluel, Shmshapuel, Sitaruel, Juriuel, Yamuel, Sariuel. These are their chiefs of tens. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose one for himself, and they began to go in unto them and to defile themselves with them, and they taught them charms and enchantments, and the cutting of roots, and made them to know plants. And they became pregnant, and they brought forth great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells. 1. And, there, cutting of roots, and made them to know plants. 2. And they became pregnant. 3. Great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, are obviously the constellations. Bingo. We have a set time and also a location. 1. And they were, in all, 200 who descended in the days of Ya'ad on the summit of Mount Hermon. 2. In the days of Ya'ad, on the summit of Mount Hermon. We will get back to this, so remember this. 5. This is where angels fail, or beings from God, because angels don't need to find roots, herbs and plants, and then give it to woman, on the grounds of breeding. Angels are sons of God, and Neanderthals and Cro-Magnons are both in the fossil record. Obviously Cro-Magnon Rh-negative blood and Neanderthal blood are not a match unless chemically enhanced, unless you have a better explanation, because if it was irrelevant, then why do the texts say this, and why two races of man, in the book of Genesis? There is only one answer. Let's compare the written texts. Genesis 1:25 God then said, "Let us make men under our shadow, as our representatives, and subject to them the fish of the waters and the birds of the sky, and the quadrupeds, as well as the whole of the earth, and every reptile that creeps upon it." So God created men under his own shadow, creating them in the shadow of God, and constituting them male and female. Genesis 2:7 The ever-living God afterwards formed man, from the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the life of animals, but man became a life-containing soul. Enoch 10:9 Proceed against the half-breeds, and the reprobates, and against the children of whoring, and destroy the children of the watchers from amongst men. Send them one against the other, that they may destroy each other in battle, for they shall not have length of days. And no request that they make of you shall be granted unto their fathers on their behalf, for they hope to live in eternal life, and that each one of them will live 500 years. The Book of Abraham 13:13 Thus did Naamah come to dwell among the sons of Adam, and she grew up before Yahweh in righteousness, and was known for her tender care toward the sick and the unfortunate. Nevertheless, she had not husband, because she was of the forbidden race. 1. Cro-Magnons, 2. Humans, 3. Neanderthals. It is obvious, the Cro-Magnon are the forbidden race. They cannot breed with humans, because their Rh-negative blood type is not a match. However, if humans were in fact chemically enhanced to breed with the Cro-Magnons, could mean that the half-breeds are in fact the Neanderthals themselves. There is no logical explanation. They are twice the size, larger body mass, thicker bones, eyes, teeth, strength, and elongation in the skulls. They have human and Cro-Magnon DNA but are a complete mystery, more so regarding numbers, and fossils. Enoch 8:2 And there arose much wickedness, and they committed whoring, and they were led astray, and became corrupt in all their ways. Shemyatzar taught enchantments, and root cuttings, Amaros, the resolving of enchantments, Barakuel, astrology, Kokabuel, the constellations, Yeskuel, the knowledge of the clouds, Arakuel, the signs of the earth, Shamsuel, the signs of the sun, and Sariel, the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to the Shemaim. Typology, angels, sons of God, divine beings, do not need to teach astrology, enchantments and the study of signs of the sun, moon and earth, to humans, and even if they did, it takes decades to learn and master, and requires a level of intelligence in the first place. It is obvious, the Cro-Magnons were around 300,000 to 400,000 years before humans, the Ice Age, and it is they who taught humans. Typology, allegory, the fallen ones, transgressed messengers, planets. Uriel, one of the Kodesh messengers, who is over the world and over Gehenna. Equals Mars, Rephael, one of the Kodesh messengers, who is over the spirits of men. Equals Mercury, Raguel, one of the Kodesh messengers who takes vengeance on the world of the lights. Equals the Sun, Michael, one of the Kodesh messengers, in order that he is appointed over the best part of mankind and over disorder. Equals Saturn, Sarakarel, one of the Kodesh messengers, who is appointed over the spirits who sin in the spirit. Equals the Moon, Gabriel, one of the Kodesh messengers, who is over paradise and the serpents and the cherubim. Equals Jupiter, Ramiel, one of the Kodesh messengers, whom Elohim appointed over those who rise. Equals Venus. Typology, we have two sets of names, which can be identified and separated. And these are the names of their leaders: Shem Latsats, their leader, Arakilba, Ramuel, Kokabuel, Tamaluel, Ramaluel, Daniel, Yeskuel, Barakuel, Asael, Amaros, Bataruel, Ananael, Sakluel, Shmshapuel, Sitaruel, Juriuel, Yamuel, Sariuel. 19 leaders, 12 signs of the zodiac plus the 7 planets, or 5 planets and 2 luminaries equals 19, the original constellations, or zodiac. The first of them is Shemyatsa, the second Artakifa, and the third Armoen, the fourth Kokabuel, the fifth Teruel, the sixth Ramiel, the seventh Daniel, the eighth Nikuel, the ninth Barakuel, the 10th Azazuel, the 11th Armoros, the 12th Butteriel, the 13th Busaziel, the 14th Hananuel, the 15th Tuel, and the 16th Semapseuel, the 17th Yetrael, the 18th Dumael, the 19th Juriuel, the 20th Ramuel, the 21st Azazuel. 1. These are named twice. 6. Daniel, Kokabuel, Barakuel, Juriuel, Armoros, Ramuel, Shemlatsats and Shemyatsu are both the sun. 7. The original antediluvian names of the 7 planets, which we will get back to. 2. These are the original antediluvian names of the 12 signs of the zodiac, as follows. Armoen, Aries, Arakilba, Taurus, Tamaluel, Gemini, Ramaluel, Cancer, Yeskuel, Leo, Asael, Virgo, Bataruel, Libra, Ananael, Scorpio, Sakluel, Sagittarius, Shmshapuel, Capricorn, Sitaruel, Aquarius, Yamuel, Pisces. These 7 in particular, are the only names repeated, and are chiefs, their original antediluvian aspects, and new good aspects of the coming flood, and new age of Leo, while the remaining 2, is an educated guess, which leaves 14 out of 21, however the positive versus negative aspects of each actually are that do match. Yeskuel, the knowledge of the clouds, is Rephael, who is over the spirits of men equals Mercury. Sariuel, the course of the moon, is Sarakael, appointed over the spirits whose sin equals moon. Armoros, resolving of enchantments, is Ramuel, appointed over those who rise equals Venus. Kokabuel, the constellations, is Uriel, who is over the world and over Jehna equals Mars. Barakuel, astrology, is Gabriel, who is over paradise and the serpents and the cherubim equals Jupiter. Shamsiel, the signs of the sun, is Raguel, vengeance, on the world of the lights equals sun. Azazuel, metals, stones, shields, swords, is Mikael, appointed over the best part of mankind and over disorder equals Saturn. And when they looked at the daughters of Cain, at their beautiful figures, and at their hands and feet dyed with color, and the tattoos on their faces that ornamented them, the fire of sin was set ablaze in them. Then Satan made them look most beautiful before the sons of Sheth, as he also made the sons of Sheth appear the most handsome in the eyes of the daughters of Cain, so that the daughters of Cain lusted after the sons of Sheth like ravenous beasts, and the sons of Sheth lusted after the daughters of Cain until they committed disgusting and disgraceful acts with them. But after they had fallen into this defilement they returned by the way they had come, and tried to ascend the Kodesh mountain. But they could not because the stones of that Kodesh mountain were on fire flashing before them, and prevented them so that they could not go up again. And Elohim was angry with them, and turned from them because they had come down from glory, and because of this had lost and forsaken their own purity and innocence, and were fallen into the defilement of sin. Then Elohim sent his word to Yaad, saying, These of your children, whom you once called my children, have broken my commandment, and have gone down to the house of damnation and sin. Send a messenger to those that are left so that they will not go down, and be lost. Then Yaad wept before Yahweh, and asked him for mercy and forgiveness. But he wished that his soul might depart from his body, rather than hear these words from Elohim about his children that went down from the Kodesh mountain. But he followed Elohim's order and preached to them not to go down from that Kodesh mountain, and not to hold relations with the children of Cain. But they did not listen to his message, and they would not obey his advice. After this, another group gathered together and went to look after their brothers, but they perished with them as well. And so it was, company after company, until only a few of them remained. Then Yared was sickened with grief. And his sickness was such that the day of his death was near. Then he called Hangak his eldest son, and Methushalah Hangak's son, and Lamech the son of Methushalah, and Noah the son of Lamech. And when they came to him he prayed over them and baraked them, and said to them, "You are righteous, innocent sons. Do not go down from this Kodesh mountain, because you have seen your children and your children's children have gone down from this Kodesh mountain, and have alienated themselves from this Kodesh mountain through their reprehensible lust and transgression of Elohim's commandment. But I know, through the power of Elohim, that he will not leave you on this Kodesh mountain. Your children have transgressed his commandment and that of our fathers, which we had received from them. But, my sons, Elohim will take you to a strange land, and you never shall return to see this garden and this Kodesh mountain with your own eyes once again. Therefore, my sons, set your hearts on your own selves, and keep the commandment of Elohim which is with you. And when you go from this Kodesh mountain into a strange land which you do not know, take the body of our father Adam with you, and with it take these 3 precious gifts and offerings, namely, the gold, the incense, and the myrrh, and let them be in the place where the body of our father Adam shall lay. And, my sons, of you who are left, the word of Elohim will come, and when he goes out of this land he shall take with him the body of our father Adam, and shall lay it in the middle of the earth, the place in which deliverance shall be worked out. Then Noah said to him, Who is he of us that shall be left? And Yared answered, You are he that shall be left. And you shall take the body of our father Adam from the cave, and place it with you in the ark when the flood comes. And your son Shem, who shall come out of your loins, it is he who shall lay the body of our father Adam in the middle of the earth, in the place where salvation shall come. Then Yared turned to his son Hangak, and said to him, My son, abide in this cave, and minister diligently before the body of our father Adam all the days of your life, and feed your people in righteousness and innocence. And Yared said no more. His hands went limp, his eyes closed, and he entered into rest like his fathers. His death took place in the 360th year of Noah, and in the 989th year of his own life on the 12th of 9th month on the 6th day. But as Yared died, tears streamed down his face by reason of his great sorrow, for the children of Sheth, who had fallen in his days. Then Hangak, Methushalah, Lamech and Noah, these 4, wept over him, embalmed him carefully, and then laid him in the cave of treasures. Then they rose and mourned for him 40 days. And when these days of mourning were ended, Hangak, Methushalah, Lamech and Noah remained in sorrow of heart because their father had departed from them and could not see him again. Hangak kept the commandment of Yared his father, and continued to minister in the cave. Many wonders happened to this man, Hangak, and he also wrote a celebrated book, but those wonders may not be told in this place. Then after this, the children of Sheth, as well as their children and their wives, went astray and fell. And when Hangak, Methushalah, Lamech and Noah saw them, their hearts suffered because of their fall, which filled them with doubt and unbelief. And they wept and sought of Elohim mercy to preserve them, and to bring them out of that wicked generation. Hangak continued in his ministry before Yahweh 385 years, and at the end of that time he became aware through the grace of Elohim, that Elohim intended to remove him from the earth. He then said to his son, O my son, I know that Elohim intends to bring the waters of the flood on the earth, and destroy his creation. And you are the last rulers over the people on this mountain. And I know that not one will be left for you to have children on this Kodesh mountain. Not one of you will rule over the children of his people. No great number of you will be left on this mountain. Hangak also said to them, Watch over your souls, and hold tight to your fear of Elohim and your service to him, and worship him in righteous faith, and serve him in righteousness, innocence and judgment. Worship him in repentance and in purity. When Hangak had ended his commandments to them, Elohim transported him from that mountain to the land of High, to the mansions of the righteous and of the chosen ones, which is the abode of paradise of joy, in light that reaches up to the Shemaim. It is the light that is beyond the light of this world. It is the light of Elohim that fills the whole world and no place can contain. Hangak was in the light of Elohim, and because of this he found himself out of the grasp of death, until Elohim would have him die. Altogether, not one of our fathers or of their children remained on that Kodesh mountain, except those three, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah. All the rest went down from the mountain and fell into sin with the children of Cain. And they were forbidden to come back to that mountain. And none remained on it but those three men. Enoch 78:1. And the names of the sun are the following, the first Aries, and the second Toma, and the moon has four names, the first name is Asnia, the second Ibla, the third Benaz, and the fourth Irah. These are the two great lights, their circumference is like the circumference of the Shemaim, and the size of the circumference of both is like. In the circumference of the sun there are 7 portions of light which are added to it more than to the moon, and in definite measures it is transferred till the 7th portion of the sun is exhausted, and they go down and enter the portals of the west, and make their revolution by the north, and come forth through the eastern portals on the face of the Shemaim. Typology: this is the 2 sons of Nimrod, which we have a carved inscription. Exclamation mark. In the circumference of the sun there are 7 portions of light which are added to it more than to the moon. 2. And the names of the sun are the following, the first Aries, and the second Toma. 7 portions of light, added to the sun, more than the moon, this is the sun's rays, reflecting of the surface of Jupiter. 43. And I saw other lightnings and the stars of the Shemaim, and I saw how he called them all by their names and they listened to him. And I saw how they are weighed in a righteous balance according to their proportions of light, the width of their spaces and the day of their appearing. And how, their revolution, produces lightning, and their revolution, according to the number of the messengers, planets, and they keep trust with each other. And I asked the messenger who went with me, who showed me what was hidden, What are these? And he said to me, The Most High of Hosts has showed you their similarity. These are the names of the Kodesh who dwell on the earth and believe in the name of Most High of Hosts forever and ever. 44. Also another matter I saw in regard to the lightnings, how some of the stars arise, and become lightnings, and cannot part with their new form. 48. And in that place I saw the fountain of righteousness which was inexhaustible, and around it were many fountains of wisdom, and all the thirsty drank of them, and were filled with wisdom, and their dwellings were with the righteous and Kodesh and elect. And at that hour the Ba-en of Adam was named in the presence of Most High of Hosts, and his name before the head of days, even before the sun and the signs were created, before the stars of the Shemaim were made. His name was named before times to Most High of Hosts. He shall be a staff to the righteous to brace themselves upon and not fall, and he shall be the light of the nations, and the hope of those who are troubled of heart. 67,1 And in those days the word of Elohim came unto me, and he said unto me, Noah, your lot has come up before me, a lot without blame, a lot of love and uprightness, and now the messengers are making a wooden object, and when they have completed that task, I will place my hand upon it and preserve it, and there shall come forth from it the seed of life, and a change shall come so that the earth will not remain without inhabitant, and I will establish your seed before me forever and ever, and I will spread abroad those who dwell with you. It shall not be unfruitful on the face of the earth, but it shall be baruk, and multiply on the earth in the name of Most High, and he will imprison those messengers, who have shown unrighteousness, in that burning valley which my grandfather Hanok had formerly shown to me in the west among the mountains, of gold and silver and iron, and soft metal and tin, and I saw that valley in which there was a great earthquake, and a convulsion of the waters, and when all this took place, from that fiery molten metal, and from the earthquake in that place, there was produced a smell of sulfur, and it was connected with those waters, and that valley of the messengers, who had led astray burned beneath that land, and through its valleys proceed streams of fire, where these messengers are punished who had led astray those who dwell upon the earth, but those waters shall in those days serve for the sovereigns and the mighty and the exalted, and those who dwell on the earth, for the healing of the body, but for the punishment of the spirit. Now their spirit is full of lust, that they may be punished in their body, for they have denied Most High of hosts and see their punishment daily, and yet do not believe in his name. Enoch, allegory, who made the ark, as it reads, and now, the messengers, are making a wooden object, and when they have completed that task, I will place my hand upon it and preserve it, and there shall come forth from it the seed of life, and a change shall come so that the earth will not remain without inhabitant. Noah. Did Noah build the ark? The messengers built the ark. The allegory is to mean the enlightenment and intellect that was given to Noah by the messengers, which is the catalyst which created the ark. 65,6 And a command has gone forth from the presence of the Most High concerning those who dwell on the earth, that their ruin is accomplished because they have learned all the secrets of the messengers, and all the violence of the adversaries, and all their powers, the most secret ones, and all the power of those who practice sorcery, and the power of witchcraft, and the power of those who make molten images for the whole earth, and how silver is produced from the dust of the earth, and how soft metal originates in the earth, for lead and tin are not produced from the earth like the first. It is a fountain that produces them, and a messenger stands therein, and that messenger is the head.
This is important, and will connect a lot of facts together. Jupiter, or Marduk, caused the flood, and explains the effects, and this will help to understand Mars, and his relationship with the gods. And remember, God said, "Let there be light," and light came. Mars, he is still the chief, and you will uncover throughout this paper. Reference, the Epic of Error, Sumerian cuneiform texts. Lord Error, why do you plan evil against? Without looking back, you are planning evil, namely, to flatten the lands, and to destroy the people. Error opened his mouth to address Isham, his advance guard. He spoke the word, Isham, pay attention to me and listen to what I say. Concerning the people of the inhabited world about whom you say, save them. Advance guard of the gods, wise Isham, whose advice is good. I am the wild bull in heaven, I am the lion on earth, I am king in the land, I am the most furious among the gods, I am hero among the Agigi, I am the strongest among the Ainun Aku. I am the hunter among livestock, I am the battering ram into the mountain. I am fire in the reed bed, I am the battle axe in the forest. I am the standard when going on campaign, I blow like the wind, I rumble loudly like Hadad, like the sun, I check the circumference of everything, I am the wild sheep when I go out to open country. I enter the deserted land and take up residence in the animal stall. All the gods fear a fight, and the black-headed people scorn me. As for me, because they do not fear my name, and disobey Prince Marduk's word, he may act according to his heart. I will make Prince Marduk furious, remove him from his dwelling, and flatten the people. The warrior Error set his face towards Erinnuana, Babylon, the city of the king of the gods, Marduk. He entered Esargil, palace of heaven and earth, and stood before him. He opened his mouth to speak to the king of the gods, Why is the Sakatu adornment, symbol of your lordship, which was full of splendor like the heavenly stars, taken with dirt? Why is the face of the crown of your lordship, which made Halanki bright like Itmananki, covered? The king of the gods opened his mouth to speak to Era, hero of the gods, and said, Warrior Era, concerning that work that you recommend to do. 1. I am the wild bull in heaven, I am the lion on earth. This means he is chief. 2. I am king, in the land I am the most furious among the gods, still chief. 3. I am hero, among the Agigi I am the strongest among the Ain eunuch the chief. 4. I am the hunter, among livestock, the animals is the zodiac. 5. I am the battering ram into the mountain, the sword of Mars. 6. I am fire in the reed bed, I am the battle axe in the forest, the sword of Mars. 7. Like the sun, I check the circumference of everything, indeed Mars is the only planet who moves around the zodiac, both upper and lower hemispheres. 8. I enter the deserted land and take up residence in the animal stall. The animal stall, or the beasts of the field, is again the zodiac. 9. All the gods fear a fight. The planet Mars has a core mostly made of iron and nickel, and Mars has a rich iron surface, and is why Mars is red. The gods fear a fight, because can absorb the thunderbolts from the gods, strike Mars with plasma, will only strengthen Mars even more. 10. I will make Prince Marduk furious, remove him from his dwelling and flatten the people. The most important line, the little planet Mars, mostly made of iron, with a nickel and iron core, can cause disruption with Jupiter's magnetic fields, enough to threaten to remove Jupiter from his position, and Mars will also flatten the people, which is to mean, he will end the throne and also its religion from Babylon. Jupiter, Marduk replies to Era, Mars. Reference, the Epic of Era, Sumerian cuneiform texts. Long ago, I did become furious, left my dwelling and brought about the flood. When I left my dwelling, the judgment of heaven and earth was dispelled, the heavens were made to tremble, such that the positions of the heavenly stars changed and did not return to their place. The underworld rocked, in such a way, that the yield of the furrow diminished and became forever difficult to rely on. The judgment of heaven and earth was dispelled, in such a way, that underground water diminished and high water receded. When I turned to look at it, it had become difficult to undo it. The creations of living beings depleted and did not return to their place, until, like a farmer, I could hold all their seed in my hand. I made a house and sat inside. As to the appearance of the Sakatu adornment, which was pushed away in the flood and had become dark, I commanded the fire god to make my countenance shine and to cleanse my garments. After he made the Sakatu adornment bright and finished the work for me, I dressed in the crown of my lordship and returned to my place. My appearance was haughty and my look fearsome. The people who were left behind in the flood saw the accomplishment of the work. Should I now set my weapons in motion and destroy the rest? I made those craftsmen descend to the Apsu and did not command them to go up. I changed the place of the Masu tree and amber and did not show anybody. Now then, warrior Era, concerning that work that you recommend, where is the Masu tree, flesh of the gods, symbol of the king of the universe? The pure, exalted young man, which is appropriate to lordship, the roots of which reached the depths of the underworld, 100 baru, into the wide sea. Its crest is in contact with the heaven of Anu, above, where is the bright Zajanjura stone which I removed. Again, mainstream will tell you is just metaphor or it's a poem, and not at all factual. They will call Sumerians as liars and frauds, because the truth isn't allowed. 16th century gravity overrides everything. Or the worse, biblical flood is real and fact, and Sumerian is made up. I let you decide. 1. Long ago, I did become furious, left my dwelling and brought about the flood. 2. The positions of the heavenly stars changed and did not return to their place. 3. The underworld rocked, in such a way, that the yield of the furrow diminished and became forever difficult to rely on. 4. Heaven and earth was dispelled, in such a way, that underground water diminished and high water receded. 5. When I turned to look at it had become difficult to undo it. The God is struggling to maintain control. 6. The creations of living beings depleted and did not return to their place. God wiped out all life. 7. Until, like a farmer, I could hold all their seed in my hand. Jupiter's electromagnetism is holding the earth together. Nothing will die, like a farmer holding it in his hand. 8. I made a house and sat inside. This means the zodiacal houses, such as the house of Venus, the house of Mars, the house of Jupiter. 9. The appearance of the Sakatu adornment, which was pushed away in the flood and had become dark. The giveaway verse, the sun went black, just as it was recorded on the death of Christ, and in the book of Revelation. 10. I commanded the fire god to make my countenance shine and to cleanse my garments, and again Marduk commends the sun, to clean his clothes, just like a tool. 11. After he made the Sakatu adornment bright and finished the work for me, this means the sun is no longer black, and back to normal. 12. And finished the work for me, again just as the God in Genesis asked the earth to produce life, is the same as Marduk asking the sun to finish what he cannot do. 13. I dressed in the crown of my lordship and returned to my place. My appearance was haughty and my look fearsome. This means Marduk got a big electrical charge from the sun and appeared even more fearsome, exactly the plan, to scare mankind into fear, and worship him, regardless if Marduk practically destroyed all life on earth in the first place. 14. I changed the place of the Masu tree and amber and did not show anybody. The tree, of which Jupiter is center, is the orbits of the current planets. Because the sky was different before the flood. Jupiter is also the tree of lives in the center of the garden. 15. Exalted young man, which is appropriate to lordship. And again, the giveaway verse, exalted young man, which is appropriate to lordship. Marduk is buttering up Hera, or Mars, and calls him exalted young man, and his lordship, but we must understand Marduk can only destroy. Without the sun, nothing is possible.
Enoch 78,1. And the names of the sun are the following, the first Aries, and the second Toma. And the moon has 4 names, the first name is Asnia, the second Dipla, the third Benes, and the fourth Ira. These are the 2 great lights. Their circumference is like the circumference of the Shemaim, and the size of the circumference of both is alike. In the circumference of the sun there are 7 portions of light which are added to it more than to the moon, and in definite measures it is transferred till the 7th portion of the sun is exhausted, and they go down and enter the portals of the west, and make their revolution by the north, and come forth through the eastern portals on the face of the Shemaim. Typology. This is the 2 sons of Nimrod, which we have a carved inscription. Exclamation mark. In the circumference of the sun there are 7 portions of light which are added to it more than to the moon. 2. And the names of the sun are the following, the first Aries, and the second Toma. 7 portions of light, added to the sun, more than the moon. This is the sun's rays, reflecting of the surface of Jupiter. 43. And I saw other lightnings and the stars of the Shemaim, and I saw how he called them all by their names and they listened to him. And I saw how they are weighed in a righteous balance according to their proportions of light, the width of their spaces and the day of their appearing. And how, their evolution, produces lightning, and their evolution, according to the number of the messengers, planets, and they keep trust with each other. And I asked the messenger who went with me who showed me what was hidden, what are these? And he said to me, the Most High of Hosts has showed you their similarity. These are the names of the Kodesh who dwell on the earth and believe in the name of Most High of Hosts forever and ever. 44. Also another matter I saw in regard to the lightnings, how some of the stars arise, and become lightnings, and cannot part with their new form. 48. And in that place I saw the fountain of righteousness which was inexhaustible, and around it were many fountains of wisdom, and all the thirsty drank of them, and were filled with wisdom, and their dwellings were with the righteous and Kodesh and elect. And at that hour the Ba-en of Adam was named in the presence of Most High of Hosts, and his name before the head of days, even before the sun and the signs were created, before the stars of the Shemaim were made. His name was named before times to Most High of Hosts. He shall be a staff to the righteous to brace themselves upon and not fall, and he shall be the light of the nations, and the hope of those who are troubled of heart. 67,1 And in those days the word of Elohim came unto me, and he said unto me, Noah, your lot has come up before me, a lot without blame, a lot of love and uprightness, and now the messengers are making a wooden object, and when they have completed that task, I will place my hand upon it and preserve it, and there shall come forth from it the seed of life, and a change shall come so that the earth will not remain without inhabitant, and I will establish your seed before me forever and ever, and I will spread abroad those who dwell with you. It shall not be unfruitful on the face of the earth, but it shall be Baruch, and multiply on the earth in the name of Most High, and he will imprison those messengers who have shown unrighteousness, in that burning valley which my grandfather Hanok had formerly shown to me in the west among the mountains, of gold and silver and iron, and soft metal and tin, and I saw that valley in which there was a great earthquake, and a convulsion of the waters, and when all this took place, from that fiery molten metal, and from the earthquake in that place, there was produced a smell of sulfur, and it was connected with those waters, and that valley of the messengers who had led astray burned beneath that land, and through its valleys proceed streams of fire, where these messengers are punished who had led astray those who dwell upon the earth. But those waters shall in those days serve for the sovereigns and the mighty and the exalted, and those who dwell on the earth, for the healing of the body, but for the punishment of the spirit. Now their spirit is full of lust, that they may be punished in their body, for they have denied Most High of Hosts and see their punishment daily, and yet do not believe in his name. Enoch, allegory, who made the ark, as it reads, and now, the messengers, are making a wooden object, and when they have completed that task, I will place my hand upon it and preserve it, and there shall come forth from it the seed of life, and a change shall come so that the earth will not remain without inhabitant. Noah. Did Noah build the ark? The messengers built the ark. The allegory is to mean the enlightenment and intellect that was given to Noah by the messengers, which is the catalyst which created the ark. 65,6 And a command has gone forth from the presence of the Most High concerning those who dwell on the earth, that their ruin is accomplished because they have learned all the secrets of the messengers, and all the violence of the adversaries, and all their powers, the most secret ones, and all the power of those who practice sorcery, and the power of witchcraft, and the power of those who make molten images for the whole earth, and how silver is produced from the dust of the earth, and how soft metal originates in the earth, for lead and tin are not produced from the earth like the first. It is a fountain that produces them, and a messenger stands therein, and that messenger is the head.
References: Ferrofenton Bible 1913, Genesis 11. All the country was agreed for settled objects. But some of them marching from the east arrived at a plain in the bush land, and halted there. Then each said to his neighbor, Come, let us set to work making bricks, and see that they are properly burnt, and bricks shall serve us for stone, and petroleum for mortar. So they agreed, We will build here for ourselves a city and a tower whose top shall reach the sky. Thus we will make a beacon for ourselves, so that we may not be scattered over all the surface of the country. But a chief came down to inspect the city and the tower which the sons of men had built, and the chief said, You see, all these people are united in the same purpose, and having begun to do this they will not be restrained from anything they determine upon. I will go down and frustrate their designs, so that one will not listen to another's proposals." So the chief scattered them over the surface of the whole country, and they abandoned the building of the city. They therefore called its name Babel, because it was there that the chief confused the designs of all the country. Thus from the Lord scattered them over all the surface of the land. The chief is still Mars, who wanders this way and that. Mars is confusing the designs of the new Tower of Babylon, so that none will listen to each other's proposals. Mars won't settle in one place, and moves across Babylon and Assyria. This is the attestation of the covenant which I have made between myself and you, and between all animal life which is with you for every generation. I place my rainbow in the clouds, and it shall be for an evidence of the covenant between myself and all the earth. When there is my cloud covering the earth and the rainbow appears in the cloud, I shall remember my covenant that is between myself and you, and between all animal life, and there shall never again be a downrush of water to sweep away all living. The rainbow shall be in the cloud, and appear as an eternal record of the covenant between God and all animal life existing upon the earth. And God repeated to Noah, "This is the covenant which I have settled between myself and all existence which is upon earth." The rainbow, the 7 colors of the 7 gods, still implementing the gods through the use of visual memory. The gods need you to believe in them. A rainbow, it is so common, and would have been seen regularly, but again, a clever trick, to use deception and fear, for it was the gods who caused all this mess, and it was the god Jupiter who destroyed the Ice Age, and every living soul, and they will do and say anything, to ensure you worship them yet again. The king also commanded Hilkiah the high priest, and the priests of the 2nd rank, and the guards of the threshold, to bring out from the temple of the ever-living all the appliance they had made for Baal, and for Asherah, and for all the host of the skies, and to burn them outside Jerusalem, in the fields of Kedron, and carry their rubbish from the house of God. He also stopped the priest of the stars, whom the kings of Judah had appointed, who burned incense at the columns to Baal, and to the sun, and to the moon, and the planets, and to all the army of the skies, and sent the shrines out of the house of the ever-living, to the outside of Jerusalem. He also pulled down the houses of prostitution which were in the house of the ever-living, where the women wove curtains for the shrines. Then he brought all the priests from the towns of Judah, and defiled the columns where the priests offered incense, from Gaba to Beersheba, and overturned the columns of the demons which had been erected at the gate, by Joshua, the governor of the city, on the left hand of each gate of the town. Nor did he permit those priests to sacrifice to the ever-living at the columns in Jerusalem, unless they ate biscuits among their brethren. He also defiled the furnace, in the valley of the sons of Kinnon, where they passed their sons and daughters through the fire to Moloch, and destroyed the horses that the kings of Judah had dedicated to the sun at the entry of the temple of the ever-living, near the chamber of Nathan-Melch the eunuch, who was superintendent of the horses, and the chariots of the sun, which he burned with fire, and the altars also that were upon the embankment of the aqueduct of Ahaz, which the kings of Judah had made. Reference the Magnum Opus 33 RD Degree Albert Pike 1857. The altar of burnt offering was a hollow framework overlaid with brass, having at its corners the horns of the calf, or bull idol, reminding us of those hollow Moloch images of Phoenicia, forming furnaces into which the victim was thrown. On it the fat was burned, and the blood, which was originally dashed in the face of the idol, was sprinkled on its horns or poured out at its foot. The Levite who touched the altar, and much more the common man who did so, was to die. Its neighborhood was as formidable to life as that of the flaming mountain made by the divine presence to smoke as a furnace, and so it was converted into a gigantic Moloch image, which to approach, or touch, was death, but at first, he claimed the firstborn as a sacrifice, and the household escaped on consideration of yielding a child. After the child was commuted for a lamb or a ram, it was natural that, as far as possible, the vestiges of the ancient obnoxious form should be suppressed. A man, or child, was hung or crucified, as an offering before the Lord, during the last hours of the departing year, and after being suspended until sunset, was then taken down. The blood poured out upon unleavened cakes, which, with portions of the flesh, were eaten by the communicants, and the remainder burned in the furnace fire of Moloch.
Welcome back. Okay, the astronomical allegories, and the secret order. There are so many occultism and references. This will be an I told you so video. Yes, I said that. I told you 5, 8, 15 times. And here is the proof. We'll give you some warning on what you're about to read, because this will hit some very sensitive information, which you may find disturbing, and I will have to explain the allegories from an occultist point of view, which you may not agree with. So, let's begin. 109, 2. Wherefore, I will send Noah unto thee in the Mizkan, and he will bestow upon thee the keys of this Gehenna, for the city of Malkit seed will I take up from off the earth, and there will be a new beginning in thee. 3. For I will greatly multiply thy seed, and I will make them my ministers, that through thy Gehenna, all the peoples of the earth shall be Baruch. 4. Therefore, from this time forth shall every male child among you be circumcised, in that his foreskin shall be opened in token of the opening of his heart to the light of the Bizarah. 5. And on the 8th day shall ye do it, that ye may remember that on the 8th day they shall be immersed, that the Beruka of the Bizarah may come upon them. 6. This is according to the covenant I made with Adam in the Garden Eden, but I instructed Noah and Shem not to administer this covenant unto thee, that thou mightest receive it in token of this new covenant which I make with thee. 7. Although I gave these ordinances in the beginning unto Adam, yet the sons of men have continually gone astray from my precepts, and have not kept my ordinances, which I gave unto their fathers. 8. They have neglected the ordinance of immersion, which I commanded unto them, in token of the burial of the natural man, and have ceased to receive the anointing, whereby they become sovereigns and kohen unto me. 9. Yea, they have turned from my commandments, and changed my ordinances, and have replaced immersion with the washing of children, which they call immersion. 10. But, behold, this is no immersion, for I will atone for the fall of Adam. Wherefore, little children are innocent until they reach the age of accountability. Okay, typology, allegory. No, it's not what you think, so I will explain. First, they have turned from my commandments, and changed my ordinances, and have replaced immersion with the washing of children, which they call immersion. Second, immersion and washing. This means rituals at dawn or dusk, immersion or washing in the light, with the morning or evening stars, when the sun's rays moves over the land like water, during the first or last hour of the day, when it says, and have replaced immersion with the washing of children, which they call immersion. This is to mean firstborn sacrifices, Baal or Moloch. 11. But the sons of men have rejected my atonement, wherein I will offer my only begotten for the sins of the world. For they say that the blood of righteous Hebel is shed for sins, thereby rejecting me as their Saviour. 12. But thou hast upheld my ordinances, therefore thy seed shall sprinkle all nations, for thou shalt be a father of many nations. 13. And thou shalt be fruitful, and many nations shall come of thee, and sovereigns of nations shall be of thy seed. 14. Moreover, Ye shall not cut yourselves in your foreskins after the manner of the heathen, for this is the lesser law and applieth only to those who have had part of the bizarre cut off from that which they have received. 15. But your hearts are open to the fullness of my bizarre, wherefore your foreskins shall be opened. 16. For if it were profitable for you to be without a foreskin, then would your father beget you in your mother without a foreskin. 17. Take not away what Elohim hath given. 18. But let your foreskins be opened, for this is the true circumcision, and it will be profitable unto you as a covenant written in your flesh, which shall be an everlasting covenant. 19. Your daughters also shall be circumcised upon the marriage bed, when the matrix is opened by the entrance of her husband, for this is a Kodesh ordinance, and it is completed at the birth of her firstborn, wherefore it is written, that the firstborn which openeth the matrix is Kodesh, because it is an instrument in the performance of a Kodesh ordinance. 20. Now, go into the Mishkan and fast and pray until Noah cometh to bestow upon thee the keys of which I have spoken. Typology, allegory. There was a lot said and containing a lot of hidden allegories, which are linked to the time of Adam himself, very specific in fact, how the memory and secret knowledge travels down in time, very vividly, but the Apocrypha doesn't try to hide it, unlike the KJV, or LXX Septuagint. 1. Your daughters also shall be circumcised by the entrance of her husband, for this is a Kodesh ordinance, and it is completed at the birth of her firstborn, wherefore it is written, that the firstborn which openeth the matrix is Kodesh, because it is an instrument in the performance of a Kodesh ordinance. 2. The virgin, your daughters also shall be circumcised, to mean, a virgin woman has only one chance, she will bleed, because she loses her innocence, physically, and metaphysically speaking, the special firstborn, which openeth the matrix, is Kodesh, to mean, each firstborn son is automatically a priest of the order, and the child already possesses intuition. That is why biblical newborn children are always intelligent and strong. 3. Now we understand why, in the ancient world, the wife has a one-time usefulness, and why a need of 3-4 virgin new wives, or the concubines, or they just interbreed, maintaining the bloodlines. Okay, matrix immersion. I will explain, in the occult, the ordinance of the stars, of immersion, of the two souls, using the matrix as an instrument for physical sexual unity, in performance of the Kodesh, in rituals and ceremony, and she loses her innocence, both physically and metaphysically speaking. It has an emphasis on creation of the two. I hope that you're getting the point. 5. The matrix, an instrument, the ordinance, in performance of the Kodesh. The Kodesh is the 7 gods, who are called the Kodesh. 6. The matrix is the instrument, is the womb, which I have stated many times. Eden, paradise, is also the womb. The Orphic egg is the womb. You could even think the solar system is also the womb. The womb has much power, it is the source of creation. Thus, the womb is where the Ruach HaKodesh resides, in the matrix. 138,2 Typology, the allegory. Here we have the answer. 138,2 Did not Elohim give thee this son by a Kodesh conception, after the order of the ancients, and dost thou think so little of this precious gift, that thou wilt take his life, as thou wouldst slaughter a dumb beast, and thus cut off thine only hope of a royal posterity in the earth? 1. Now do you understand why it's so important to them and why they simply cannot give it up? Adam's sin of the spirit and flesh still continues, and why royals or tribes were and still are obsessed with interbreeding. 158,6 Go ye in unto him that he may Barak Ribkah, and she shall conceive, and bear unto thee 2 sons, and the younger shall rule over the elder, but in the elder shall the word of Yahweh also be fulfilled, for through him shall I slay wicked Nimrod, even as Yahweh foretold at my birth. So Yitzchak took Ribkah and went unto Jurah, unto Abimelech, son of Abimelech, who barak her after the order of the ancients, and she conceived and bare unto Yitzchak 2 sons. Typology. Again another reference, who barak her after the order of the ancients, and she conceived, and bare unto Yitzchak 2 sons. 1. She only conceived because she was initiated into the order of the ancients. Writings of Eliyahu. 1. But he shall leave with Elisha those keys necessary to continue his work in organizing the schools of the Nebim, and the order of Hangak, that the sons of the Nebim may continue to live after the Kodesh order of Elohim. Therefore, my son Elisha, I leave for thee this book of the order, by which thou mayest govern the order of Hangak, for I have organized and governed this order, according to the revelations of Yahweh to me, and under the direction of his Ruach HaKodesh, I give thee these instructions. 9. Every member of the order must be dedicated to bringing into a bond of mutual love all those who are striving to live after the Kodesh order of Elohim. To live after the order of the ancients means that they must live in the community of Elohim's elect, holding all things common and loving one another as themselves. 6,3 The spiritual, mental, physical and material resources of such a man are of no value to the community of Elohim's elect, therefore he shall not be permitted to enter into the order of Hangak, to live after the pattern of the Shemaim. Typology. Allegory. To enter into the order of Hangak, to live after the pattern of the Shemaim. 1. To live a life governed by astrology, the pattern of the heavens, or the stars. 6,7 Although he should offer numerous sacrifices, in the similitude of the Lamb of Elohim, and be immersed in water, any number of times, and be washed and anointed after the order of Hamashiach, yet he can never be cleansed from his sins except through contrition and repentance, wherein he rejecteth his former works and walketh in the path which our fathers walked, which is the Kodesh order of Elohim. 7. Those who enter into covenant to hold all things common according to the order of Hangak and faithfully adhere to the order of the ancients, should be instructed, that their minds may be opened to the vision of eternity, and how the order of the Shemaim. Obedience to these rules can only be maintained through cultivation of the Ruach HaKodesh, which is received in the ordinances of Elohim's house. Everyone who seeketh admittance to the community of the order must first be approved by the presidency of the order. He must then enter into a covenant of Elohim in the presence of his brethren of the order, binding himself by a solemn oath to consecrate all of his mind, all of his strength and all of his wealth to the community of Elohim's elect. He who is found acceptable shall then enter the order of Hangak, after the Aharonic order, where, through obedience to the word of Elohim, and the instructions of those who preside over him in the Kahuna, he may progress from one degree to another, until he entereth into the order of the Father, the most Kodesh of all. Moreover, every member of the order is to be interviewed at the end of each year, to evaluate his spiritual attitude and the performance of his duties. Typology. Allegory. Shall then enter the order of Hangak, he may progress from one degree to another, the verse that gives it away, the Masonic order. All those who have entered the Kodesh order of Elohim should be obedient to those who have been placed over them in the Kahuna, in all matters, especially those relating to the order of Hangak. All the elect are to eat at a common table, assemble at every appointed time to worship Yahweh, their Elohim, and attend all councils to which they are invited. they are to attend the schools of the Kahuna, where they can be instructed in the order of the Shemaim. Typology, who have entered the Kodesh order of Elohim, those relating to the order of Hangak, attend the schools of the Kahuna, where they can be instructed in the order of the Shemaim. 1. They have a complete school system and separate schools and orders, and degrees, and the council of the order. 2. They the Jewish religion, Judah, Jehovah, are a full-on Masonic system, that is totally family-based, the order of the ancients. 19. The council of the order, is to be conducted according to the Torah of Elohim. 72,15 But the watchmen refused to open to them by the order of Bilam, the magician, their sovereign. They did not allow them to enter their city. 26. And when Pharaoh heard their words, he was greatly afraid before them, and he said to them, Go today and come back to me tomorrow. And they did according to the word of the sovereign. And when they had gone, Pharaoh sent for Bilam the magician, and to Joan, and Ma his sons, and to all the magicians, and practitioners of witchcraft, and counselors, which belonged to the sovereign, and they all came and sat before the sovereign. And the sovereign told them all the words which Moshe, and his brother Aharon, had spoken to him, and the magicians said to the sovereign, But how did the men come to you, because of the lions, which were confined at the gate? And the sovereign said, Because they lifted up their rod against the lions, and loosed them, and came to me, and the lions also rejoiced at them, as a dog rejoices to meet his master. And Bilam, son of Beor, the magician, answered the sovereign, saying, These are none else than magicians, like ourselves. Typology, allegory, because they lifted up their rod against the lions, and loosed them, and came to me, and the lions also rejoiced at them. 1. High priests carried a rod, or staff, just as Freemasons hold a rod, which symbolically tracks the sun. They are the equinoxes and solstice, and marking the new age of Leo. The lions also rejoiced at them, as a dog rejoices to meet his master, ending the age of Taurus, and the new age of Leo. The golden calf of Exodus has nothing to do with the god Baal. Wrong timeline and era. Egyptians did not worship Baal, and the Israelites came from Egypt, thus no such Baal, because Baal was in Baalbek. The KJV Bible simply swapped Taurus for the god Baal, to hide the truth about the ages, the precession of the equinoxes, because that's astrology, and we can't have astrology in Bibles, can we? Faith only is allowed. And if you were living in the time of King James, and you said astrology, you would be burnt at the stake. It's just the mindset, and dumb intelligence still remains today, under the guise of faith. The Bible has served its purpose very well for 400 years under a ruthless iron fist. It is set up solely as an anti-astrology, and everything astrology is evil and the devil. And believe in faith, because the church said so, still has governance over people to this day. Yet, none of any of the biblical patriarchs follow faith, except only one, the book of Job. Jubilees 14. And after all this he created man and a woman, he created them, and gave him rulership over all that is on the earth, and in the seas, and over all that flies, and over beasts, and over cattle, and over all that moves on the earth, and over the whole earth, and over all this he gave him rulership. And these 4 kinds he created on the 6th day. And there were altogether 22 kinds, and he finished all his work on the 6th day, all that is in the Shemaim, and on the earth, and in the seas, and in the abysses, and in the light, and in the darkness, and in all. 23. There were 22 heads of mankind, from Adam to Jacob, and 22 kinds of work were made until the 7th day. This is Baruch and Kodesh, and the former also is Baruch and Kodesh, and this one serves with it one for Kodesh and Berekah. Typology, allegory, astrology again, back to the 12 constellations plus 4 seasons plus 5 luminaries plus moon equals the 22 heads of man. 18,3 Noah invested his son Shem with authority to reign, as Prince of Peace, and Noah devoted his days to instructing his people after the order of the ancients, and his people dwelt in righteousness, and worshipped Yahweh, their Elohim, and served him. They established the order of the Shemaim among them and sought after the city of Hangak, and Yahweh came among them and ministered to them, and those who sought for the gain of this world went out from among them, for they held all things common, after the order of Hangak, and no man was above his neighbor. Typology: Shem with authority to reign, as Prince of Peace, Christ is Prince of Peace. 25,3 And finding great happiness and peace and rest therein, I sought for the Barakoth of the fathers, and I received, under the direction of Noah and Shem, those instructions, whereby I might enter into the order of the ancients, and I became a rightful heir, and Kohen Hagadol, holding the right belonging to the fathers. For I was ushered into the assembly of the firstborn and tasted the fruits of the Shemaim. 27,2 And although I had no sons of mine own flesh, yet I had adopted 12 sons, of those who were faithful to the order of the ancients, and foremost among these was Eliezer of Damsek, who had come to the city of Shalom seeking after the Barakoth of the fathers and had remained as my son. Typology: Yet I had adopted 12 sons, of those who were faithful to the order of the ancients, that is because a Masonic temple needs 12 officers, to represent the 12 signs of the zodiac, or the 12 tribes. In short, King David and King Solomon and the temple is a Masonic temple, but was built for the nation, or the religion that is on a national level, and the temple was the temple of the whole country, all the priests and people with a single mind. First Zionism, next domination, which is fundamentally what the Old Testament is after all. 31,7 Talked to her of the futility of worshipping mighty ones, of wood and stone, made by men's hands which have no power in them, and of the order of the ancients, which was preserved in the city of Shalom, under Noah and Shem, which I had been sent to proclaim in the great city of Ur. 82 Meanwhile, I with my people dwelt in Bethel, where we did worship Yahweh, our Elohim after the order of the ancients, and did strive diligently to establish the Kodesh order of Elohim among us in ever-increasing perfection. Typology: Allegory: The constant reference of both gods, named together, such as Yahweh, our Elohim, or Yahweh Elohim, simply means the sun and Jupiter as the morning or evening stars, when both the sun and Jupiter are both present in the sky at the same time. Next, Sarah. Now, Sarah was listening at the door of the tent, and when she heard these words, she laughed within herself, knowing that she was past the age of bearing, and I also was very old. But the Kodesh man of Elohim rebuked her, saying, Is anything too hard for Yahweh? Surely when we return here 9 months hence, thou shalt bear a son. Whereupon, the 3 Kodesh men of Elohim entered with me into Sarah's tent, and barak her. And the Ruach HaKodesh fell upon Sarah in mighty power in the Berakah, and she conceived, according to the word of the man of Elohim. Then the 3 Kodesh men of Elohim departed from our camp, and I walked with them to bring them on their way towards Edom. Typology: Allegory: And the Ruach HaKodesh fell upon Sarah in mighty power in the Berakah, and she conceived, according to the word of the man of Elohim. 1. Exactly just as Jesus himself obtained the Ruach HaKodesh, and his head glowed, even Sarah is given the cosmic power of the Ruach HaKodesh, and mighty power, and she conceived. And Abimelech had entered the Kodesh order of Elohim and was a Kohen, and a sovereign after the order of the Most High Elohim, and had received the rights and ordinances of the Bizarah. Conclusion: it is obvious, they have a complete and separate schools, and orders, and degrees, the Council of the Order, the Presidency of the Order of Elohim, the Order of Hangak, the Order of the Shemaim, the Order of the Ancients, the Schools of the Nebim, Order of the Most High Elohim. 1. So the Most High is Jupiter. That changes the whole narrative of the Book of Enoch, because it would mean that the God named after the flood is El Shaddai, is Jupiter. 1. Yahweh, they talk about him in a way of receiving knowledge or information, or inspiration, but do not praise him above Elohim. 2. Elohim, they put him above all other gods. Elohim seldom speaks without Yahweh, which means the constant references to the morning or evening stars, when both gods are present, and is why he is simply called Yahweh Elohim. Abimelech had entered the Kodesh Order of Elohim. 1. That would be the 12-year cycle of Jupiter around each of the zodiacal signs, the actual original zodiac of the School of Mysteries, not to be confused with zodiac of the Sun. The Masonic Order, and also the 96th degree, the knowledge of reincarnation, or the passing of knowledge, through the matrix, in the patterns of the Ruach HaKodesh, through conception, unto the firstborn child. If it's a boy, he will automatically be a priest of the Order of the Ancients. If it's a girl, at age, her womb will be primed to receive the Ruach HaKodesh. It is obvious this sin hasn't stopped, and this belief, schools, orders, rituals, practices has carried on down through the entire biblical bloodlines, from Adam right down to this day. The Order of the Ancients is the Order of Hangak, Enoch. Enoch is the patriarch of Freemasonry. Thank you for watching. Do like and comment, keeps me motivated. Thank you.